Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
We're going to try to make this run to the national championship. I think it's good to have great players on the bench. I mean, the starters can't score all the time. They're not always going to have good nights, so it's great to have someone on the bench that can be starters.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
John, Everyday John, he's called that for a reason. So he does a great job in providing energy and a motor. Everyday John got a little tired today, but it's because he studied hard for them finals.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Yeah, it got him going. It got him going for sure. And us seeing him get going, it got us going even more. So, yeah, he like that at practice. When the energy's low, he helps pick us up and get us rolling.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Good afternoon on this Thursday afternoon, this little warm front that continues to enjoy this fall day. But yet in this 2020, you never know. You have a show planned, and then all of a sudden there's a few curveballs, sometimes just fastballs up and in. About 30 minutes ago or so, I learned that Baylor had their offensive coaching staff hit with COVID. I have now been able to learn that 3 of their 5 offensive coaches tested positive for COVID today. And all I can tell you now is they're not sure about the status. As of now, Oklahoma State, Baylor, they plan to play Saturday at 6 o'clock. A lot of things can change in the next hour or two. But they plan on playing the game. But that is dependent on testing as well over the next couple of days. You know that they test on Friday morning. Find out maybe others on staff, players, contact tracing, all of that involved. We already know that Oklahoma, West Virginia has been canceled. That won't be played this year. Texas and Kansas won't be played. They canceled again after that game had been pushed back. And this is a game, Baylor and Oklahoma State, that had been pushed back from earlier in the year. So 3 of 5 offensive coaches tested positive for COVID, and now they'll go through more testing, discussions with doctors, and see what they do after this.
Yeah, it's, the logistics of what you do on game day. If this is it, which I don't want to get anybody's hopes up that it, but let's say we're going to stick it here. 3 of 5 offensive coaches are going to be here. Which 3 are they? How does that affect the logistics on game day, and who steps in to do what they normally do with 2 days' notice?
Yeah, it's a bit of a pickle that they're in now, and, without having too much more information on, what exactly that means as far as what they're able to do or not able to do, it's kind of hard to make too much of a prediction or really lean one way or the other. I mean, does it matter that those guys are out? Like, it does for sure, but does it matter enough to call off an entire game? That I don't know. Yeah. And until we get that official word, I'm hoping to see Oklahoma State and Baylor this weekend, but I realize that everybody's sort of limping to the finish line now at this point, especially the Big 12. You have West Virginia, who hasn't been hit with COVID all year, basically, and that was where, Baylor first picked up the bug, or the virus, was the Morgantown trip, and West Virginia just kept on rolling on along all season, and now all of a sudden they're getting hit. Very last game of the year. They're getting hit with it. Oklahoma, all across the board. So, Texas today, how often have they really had a problem this year? Little to none, quite frankly. I don't even know if they've had a game switched or not. They might have had one, but
the Kansas game, that was going to be this week. Yeah,
right. So they haven't until this week is what I'm saying. So teams who even went sort of unscathed now getting bit by this, and so we'll see.
Now, we have scheduled today at the bottom of the hour, the high school football playoffs begin tonight in the state of Texas, from Class 4A down to 6-man Class 1A. And there are some teams from the area that will be playing tonight, because now they're back into the routine of where they're going to play and what day they're going to play next week in Arlington at AT&T Stadium, state championship week. So we'll hear a little bit from Kevin Hoffman from Mart as they play Fall Cities tonight, and Crawford's Greg Jacobs, they play Post tonight. We'll hear a couple of notes from them. Also, a couple of a couple of Cowboys segments with Mickey Spagnola, David Hellman, Jennifer Smoak, Fantasy Football League expert. She'll join us today a little bit later on in this hour. We'll hear from Scott Drew and Davion Mitchell. I was at the game last night, Baylor and my alma mater, SFA. That's a really good team. They've got some dudes. And Baylor just crushed them, just wore them out. It was 29-22. I left my seat in the radio area, went downstairs, got a popcorn and a drink, and came back out, and it was 38-22 at halftime. In a matter of 2 game minutes, they had a 9-0 run to blow SFA out of the water. We know how Kyle Keller felt about Baylor before the game. You can imagine what he thinks about them now after the game. Texas Tech closed their football training facilities following several positive tests. That came in today, but they did not have a game this week, but that means they will shut it down most likely through the rest of the week.
And that's another program that everybody, when Baylor was going through their deal at the very beginning, everybody's, well, what about everybody else? Like, where's the leadership? And I know those are just the same, like, handful of people that look to just poke at the leadership any chance that they get. That's just kind of their character online or whatever it is. But there were some of those questions, and it's different waves for different folks as opposed to different strokes for different folks. And so for every team that you were talking about not being bit by it and somehow it was a Baylor issue, well, they're all getting bit by it right now. Oklahoma's getting bit by it. Texas. I mean, go on down the list.
Yep, it's kind of right now the Big 12 getting hit. Now, Greg Sankey of the SEC will speak to the media at 5 o'clock today. It is not about COVID. You wondered if it was about would they shut down the last weekend and just get to the championship game, Florida and Alabama. It is more about the NCAA dragging their feet when it comes to the investigations. That's going to come up today at 5. We'll keep you up to date on that as well as much as we possibly can. Boston College backed out of a bowl game. Yeah. This is what I was talking about with Dave Aranda. Even though there's no way they go to a bowl game, if you have a bunch of teams that say we're not going to go, someone's got to fill them, although a lot of those games are going to probably evaporate between now and the time they're supposed to start. So they have backed out because they said, listen, our kids have not been able to go home. This is an opportunity for the first time since they came to campus for them to get away. In this situation, we're not going to go bowling.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It's going to happen a lot. I say the over-under should be 12 bowl games, the New Year's 6 plus others. Back to Greg Sankey real quick. This is the first step. This is a major conference commissioner coming out and saying, you don't do anything. The NCAA doesn't do anything. They do nothing. What does Mark Emmert do? Can you tell me something he's actually done other than give a press conference? No, he doesn't do anything. So this is the first step. The other ones will follow, and eventually we will see reform. I'm hoping it's top down. I hope the words NCAA don't even exist anymore because it's garbage.
Well, it most likely,
I'll tell you what. If Mack Rhodes doesn't see that LSU bowl announcement yesterday, and have his gears going a little bit, like if LSU were to actually get away with what they're trying to pull here, which is avoid an NCAA suspension by deciding to eliminate something they weren't going to have anyways, a bowl game, then Baylor better take that opportunity this year. If that works, if that's what you're allowed to do, then Baylor, go ahead and announce right now that you're not going to play in a bowl game this year. Because, I mean, what's the difference? There's no 6-win requirement, so LSU or anybody else could just say, no, we're not going to play in a bowl game.
The problem is that both their head coach and their athletic director already told us that they weren't anyway.
Yeah, no, I know.
That cat's probably out of the bag.
By the way, a little breaking news. This is Baylor-related somewhat, but Blake Anderson has stepped down at Arkansas State.
Okay.
So
all right.
He is going to Utah State and will be heading up to join the Utes. So, Blake Anderson out at Arkansas State, headed to Utah State.
Here's also local news. Midway basketball coach Matt Brown, his dad Larry, just took the job up in, was it Ranger? He's resigned as the Midway basketball coach and is going to probably go, and this is from Matt Roberts and Fox 44, and perhaps go coach with his father at the college level. So there's all sorts of moving parts right here, but let's get back to the lead story here. Baylor offensive coaches, 3 of 5. I initially was told it might be more than that. I was able to confirm 3 out of 5 offensive coaches. Now, There will be more testing, as you can imagine. Friday morning is that really difficult test. It's gotten Baylor. It's gotten a lot of different people. We'll see what happens. We'll see what Oklahoma State wants to do. They have a part in this discussion as well, and doctors, not only with Baylor, Oklahoma State, but the Big 12 on whether they play that game Saturday night at 6 o'clock. So, how about today, huh? How about rapid fire? Oklahoma, West Virginia, gone. Texas, Kansas, gone. Baylor, Oklahoma State up in the air. Texas Tech shuts down athletics because of COVID. Greg Sankey's about to put a blowtorch to the NCAA. Thank goodness Greg Sankey has the nuts to do that.
Well, he also has the ability to do that. You know, he's one of the few commissioners. I mean, there's only a handful of them anyways, but I think Sankey is uniquely positioned, probably along with Kevin Warren, although Sankey's actually done it out of respect, whereas Warren just has the Big Ten name in tow. You know, maybe he gains respect over time, but he has little to none right now. I think he's kind of a laughingstock of a commissioner, quite frankly. But Sankey has that weight.
Yeah, he does.
He can do that. And you know, it's kind of like if something were to happen in Texas or Ohio State or Bama can come out and they can run the risk of, you know, throwing a little trash back at whoever, you know, the NCAA or whatever. But if you're UTSA or you're Louisiana Lafayette.
This all goes back to what we talked about yesterday about the college football standings. You don't.
I mean, and we all know it. Like, it's an uneven playing field, and it always will be. And that's just the truth.
The text line here from TJ. I think we'll see the closer it gets to the end of the season. That so-and-so team, they know the season is done. Players don't care. They've been careful so long. Now they want to hit those parties and get out. Scotty B. I'm praying for the coaches, Baylor football. Hope the game happens in favor of, even if it's canceled, just want to make sure what's best for the teams, the players, and coaches. Lastly, I'm praying for the coaches and anyone who has tested positive.
By the way, Greg Sankey also used to work for the NCAA in infractions. And back when he was there, that's when people, if the NCAA was investigating you were kind of like, oh, crap. Now, if the NCAA is investigating, you're like, who's the best lawyer we can hire and befuddle them?
You know, think about, exactly. Think about this now. With all that's going on today about this weekend in college football, is this the last game? Has Tom Herman coached his last game at Texas?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I'm just asking. It's a question.
But it's
has Charlie Brewer played his last game if they don't play Oklahoma State at Baylor?
I think so.
That's a possibility. Yeah. Those are things to look at here as these decisions are being made. And then, of course, there may be more. This is just Thursday afternoon. We're not even at 3:30 yet, right? 254-339-1122. That line is open. Your thoughts about what you heard today and the news we had for you today. 3 of 5 of the offensive coaches on COVID or have been tested positive for COVID. Your thoughts. What do you think? They're going to play? What do you think? Your thoughts about it. 254-339-1122. And looking back to last night's Baylor destruction of a really good basketball team in my alma mater at Stephen F. Austin. And in fact, here is Scott Drew after the game. He and Davion Mitchell were available. Scott Drew, as Baylor's bench just mauled Stephen F. Austin.
Well, I think the guards, as Adam has shared, Davion Maceo, Jared, really welcoming him and helping him get better each and every day, bringing him to the gym with them and showing him just how we work out, what we do. And that work ethic and chemistry is really translated going against each other in practice every day. So Adam gives those guys a lot of the credit for his success. And then John, I mean, everyday John, he's called that for a reason. So he does a great job and providing energy and a motor. Everyday John got a little tired today, but it's because he studied hard for them finals.
I love it. Davion Mitchell had himself a game across the board. He also, as a starter, the guys who are the ones that this team, when you clear the bench, and Matthew Myers, is one of the guys that's your last way. He'd been in the game a lot. He's an important part of that team. But when you clear the bench with a couple of walk-ons and then he's a part of that, that's how deep you are. Mm-hmm. And here's Davion Mitchell on the Baylor Bears bench.
We're going to try to make this run to the national championship. I think it's good to have great players on the bench. I mean, the starters can't score all the time. They're not always going to have good nights. So it's great to have someone on the bench that can be starters.
That's Davion Mitchell, who also, Paul, do you think he's improved his three-point shooting?
Yeah, and I'm not surprised. When I interviewed him last year on a 101, I went to Charlie Melton. I asked, tell me some things about him. And basically they said they have to sometimes beg him to get out of the gym. and like go, like they have to beg him to do, not to like stop working out, stop studying, like go have a hamburger, go see a movie, like do something fun for 2 hours. So they do that, and here's how he worked on his three-point shooting, and it shouldn't surprise you at the depths he went.
I worked out a lot with my shooting, my footwork. I watched other great shooters like Stephen Curry and all the other great shooters, and see how smooth, how their hands is on the ball. My hands were like not right on the ball, so I'm actually seaming it right. So my rotation is getting a lot better, and yeah, I just kept working on it.
All right, so Davion Mitchell, Baylor, everyone, they do well. And it's, like there was a stretch there where I looked up at the stats up on these boards they have in the corner, and Maceo Teague didn't have any points, and they were blowing somebody out. A good team. They've got some dudes on that team. They might win the Southland Conference. I know that's not a Power 5, but you know how good SFA has been. They did get beat on the boards, which is interesting, a lot of times because they made a lot of their shots. They didn't have to get offensive boards. But the turnovers, they forced 35, is that right? Mm-hmm. 35 SFA turnovers. That's going to drive Kyle Keller. He won't sleep for 3 or 4 days. Baylor themselves, though, had 20. And there were times as well that they were struggling with the turnovers as well. 254-339-1122, SicEm365 Radio.
Matt in D.C., you're on the Impact Health Labs caller line on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, thanks for taking my call today, guys. How y'all doing?
Good.
Doing great.
I just want to say a couple comments about the Big 12 cancellations. I mean, the reality is Oklahoma doesn't need to play the game. If they don't have to play this game, they're already in the Big 12 championship. So they're like, well, we got a couple cancellations. We got a reason not to play it. Fine. Texas, if they were still trying to get in the Big 12 title game, they would play this game but they ain't got nothing to play for, and they're like, no reason to play Kansas. That's why they're canceling. They found the excuses like we ain't got to play. Baylor's never going to put a bowl ban in because that would mean that we admitted that we did something wrong. So as we know, to defeat the NCAA, you just sue, litigate, appeal for 5 years. That's why we had the North Carolina lawyers. LSU was caught red-handed with all these things coming out. You got Odell Beckham paying them, so they know they're caught. That's why they're going to self-impose this bowl ban. And nothing will happen to them anyway because they're a blue blood. That being said, with that, I mean, that's just the way it is. And I hope Baylor can play this game on Saturday. But if not, I mean, kind of glad that the season's kind of done with and we can move forward and go from there. Good win with the basketball. Let's beat Texas on Sunday. You have a good day.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate your time in D.C. And one of the things I mentioned today to a potential sponsor of this show in what we do is our audience from coast to coast. It's my goodness, Virginia, Matt in D.C., right then and there. We have those of you who have called from California, and we appreciate, and of course, right here, smack in Central Texas, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Austin, and very many places. We appreciate it. Atlanta, Florida. We appreciate all the calls and also you listening whenever you can and being a part of SicEm365 Radio. I was driving home from the game last night and realized, we have Paul does his fantasy football. Paul and Craig do extra columns. Colt does columns. Grayson does columns. Brian and Ashley do columns. Jason King does columns. And then on top of that, the football pre- and post-game shows. Basketball post-game last night. Armstrong, you were here for that with Ashley and his basketball expertise. Drake as well. It's constant, and we hope you get what you need. And if there's ever suggestions, of course, we'll listen to you as well. Charlie Brewer is now back on Twitter.
Yeah, to tell people. I mean, he could have just, slid under the radar a little bit. Maybe he didn't want you to tell everybody he was back on Twitter. Maybe he wanted it to, maybe you've ruined his whole social media rollout. Did you ever think about that?
You ever think he might have asked me to?
I don't know, but I mean,
he's back on Twitter. C Brewer 2. It's not the number 2, but Roman numerals the second.
I think he made the better choice the first time.
Just to get off?
Yeah, I would love it. I would love it. If I could stop being on Twitter this very second, I would absolutely 100% do it.
But in our position, it's part of what we do to promote what we do. And yes, sometimes we get into these cat fights or whatever and, put up, like, for example, this story today, we were going to put this up. We had it off the top of the show. Baylor's offensive coaches put it on the website, right?
Yeah.
Where else does it go? How else does it get out there?
Yes, your point is well suited. I feel like Tony Stark, though, that the only thing keeping the shrapnel out of my heart is this thing I can't get out of. And that's why I hate about Twitter. But
if Twitter today said we are no longer in existence, it would not be something. You might not believe me, but it would be something that it would not bother me. I promise you, it would not bother me.
I don't believe
I mean,
that.
I really don't.
I probably need to snort a line of coke after that, but I'm just telling you.
I really don't
I'm
believe
telling
that.
you, I've gotten to the point now where it's worse than it is positive.
Well, welcome to the club, because I've been a part of that club now for at least a couple years. You know, I was able to kind of overlook some of Twitter's, I guess, negatives there for a while. And, you know, now, though, like with all this, the election stuff the last couple years and all of just the drama, like the levels of drama that are reached on this digital platform versus real life. Like, I look at it and I go, this is so silly. Like, why are we stressing and in some cases ruining lives and like all on this platform? And just, I don't know, man, it just feels so not real. And I think there's too many people, just my opinion, that take it far too real. But
I agree.
I understand the impact that it has. And obviously we use it. But I am literally down to Twitter. I deleted Facebook years ago. I had Instagram for a while, got rid of that just because I didn't use it often enough. So it is my one social media tool that I have, and I'm still using it and will as long as we're doing this gig right here.
If we didn't have Twitter, I wouldn't be able to respond to the Oklahoma State fan who just a minute ago put up on his feed under my story, why is it always Baylor? And I wouldn't be able to say, you're an idiot. Right? I mean,
well, that's exactly what TJ just said. Addiction is hell, Paul, and the Twitter has sucked you in. Plus, if you're not on Twitter, you couldn't see Smokey call someone an idiot.
Yeah.
And again, you don't have to respond. Like, I very rarely respond to anybody
better
on Twitter because it doesn't matter. Like, nothing that's said on Twitter
really
outside
doesn't.
of factual, like the things that are, if you look at my Twitter feed, these are things we've had on the show, or these are like somebody asked me a direct question about something I might have said during a game. I will answer that directly, but I don't dive into Twitter. Like, I did that early on where I felt like, oh, people are looking at this. I have to like duke it out with this guy. And they're like, well, who's really reading all this? Nobody.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
I know.
Like, you know.
Well, once you, I mean, I know we don't want to spend time on this, but once you realize it's just like an instant satisfaction type of thing that more often than not for most people turns out to be the complete opposite, that's when you realize it's not really all that healthy.
Jack, would you go bring that cheesecake to the studio? Would you have time to do that?
We had a couple calls.
Let's go back to the calls. 254-339-1122.
All right, let's talk to Joe and DFW. You're on the Impact Health Labs caller line on SicEm365 Radio.
Fellas, good afternoon. How are you fellas doing today?
What's up, Joe?
Hey, glad I got to talk to you fellas. Been a little while. I've called in a couple times on the post-game show. Had some fun with those guys and Paul as well. Hopefully made his night go decent that night.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Paul.
No, go ahead. I was just laughing.
But I was want to talk about a little Baylor basketball. Looks like these guys are bringing it this year, kind of picking up where they left off last year, and then kind of are showing signs that they're going to be even better than last year. However, Smokey, that was your alma mater, and I was a little concerned at first, just in case. You never know, because your alma mater has snuck up on some of these bigger D1 schools before. So I'm glad they didn't underestimate and take Stephen F. Austin lightly. But as going forward with the rest of the schedule, I mean, it's a few of these games I'm still a little hesitant, because if they sleep on one of these, it's going to be an interesting fight to see how they respond to it. Because, again, there has been some upsets. It's 2020 for crying out loud, so you never know what's going to happen. But real quick before I get off, I will see you guys this weekend because I will be at the game. I'm coming into town, so I hope I can link up with you guys. And then come hell or high water, I'm going to get you guys up here at my car wash, and I'm going to have y'all do a show from up here one day.
Hey,
I will holler back at you guys later.
That's great.
I used to work at a car wash, so
quick and easy car wash on South Broadway. Yeah,
coming home.
By the way, thank you, Joe. And if you have a chance, just be careful. Make sure you pay attention to what's going on with the coaches, offensive coaches. 3 of them out of 5 testing positive. That could turn around quickly on what they do. As of now, I'm being told they want to play the game. That could change by the time we come out of the next commercial break. Now, on the set today, and we got another call. But real quickly, Jack, thank you. On the set, this is Laura's Cheesecake. This is from David Willis and Parker Lewis and the Willis Law Firm, one of our sponsors of SicEm365 Radio and SicEm365.com, the chat room. Mr. Willis sent that to me. Thank you very much to one of our sponsors, Laura's Cheesecake, and we appreciate the gift to SicEm365 Radio. Paul?
All right, T-Rex, you're on the Impact Health Labs caller line on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, gentlemen. Hope y'all are having a good day. Sounds like it. Because you're eating cheesecake. I had some of that last night, actually. So not from there, though. But if they want to send some my way, I'm sure I can get them my address. And Smokey, you don't need to eat any cheesecake, man. So let me have yours.
Okay.
It's not good for you. You're working too hard out there at the Waco Regional Tennis Center. So don't want to mess that up. Anyways, couple things here. Right before I called in, I got a text from Matt from DC, referencing your tweet. Had to hop back on Twitter real quick and we need some work done. Saw the tweet about the coaches. I like the positivity that the team still wants to play. Obviously, I'm sure the players want to play. Obviously, the fans want to play, and the coaches who can coach, without the COVID issue, I'm sure they want to get that game film and they want to finish the season strong. One kind of note on that, I think you said 3 of 5 offensive coaches. To be honest, I didn't know we had any offensive coaches, so I don't think it's going to be any different. I think we just go out there and play football, so it ain't going to be any different than all year. So I take a step back. I know we got some great coaches. I know they're going through a lot of struggles. So I just wanted to kind of make a little light of the situation. I hope those guys, are asymptomatic and get over that, and, hopefully it doesn't, contact trace us out of this game. We've already postponed it once. Obviously, you got idiots like you referenced on Twitter. I'm going to leave them alone. But I think you should not get rid of Twitter because there's only so many idiots that I can call out myself. So I need some backup smoke. So keep doing your thing. It'll keep you young. So don't listen to your son and don't listen to Paul. Do whatever you want on Twitter. You brought him into this world. You can take him out. So
bring me into this world.
I've nurtured you recently. Thanks, T-Rex. Go ahead.
It's all right.
Anything else?
Last thing I want to say, I personally really hope we have this game because I want us to finish the season strong, and I want us to make sure that Oklahoma State has yet to still beat Baylor football in Waco since 2009, and this will be our third victory over them in a row. We also put 3 victories in a row this year over Kansas State, so I would like to finish strong with, keeping that little streak going, putting the Pokes in their place. They like to run their mouths back in early October saying that they shouldn't have to play us and this reschedule because they're going to be in the Big 12 championship. Well, they definitely ain't going to be there. So I know y'all talked about that earlier in the year, kind of referenced those comments. So I would love for them to come to Waco, get put in their place where they belong. I love Mike Gundy. I hope he doesn't leave or get fired because just like Tom Herman, I want them to be mediocre. So hopefully we get a game. I actually sold some extra tickets to Joe from DFW, so I really don't want to refund him the money. So I need that game to happen for multiple reasons. But like I said, we don't have an offensive staff or offensive players anyway, so defense is going to score all the touchdowns. We'll be all right. Let's go play ball.
Thank you.
See you on Saturday, hopefully.
T-Rex, thanks for the call as always. By the way, a note on that Blake Anderson story, leaving Arkansas State. Is it true that the reason he's leaving is because he could take the job, or will he take the job, or has he been associated with the job at Utah State?
Yeah, that's what Craig said.
Okay,
I didn't. Coach at Utah State.
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
That's good. That's where Baylor's, where David Randa once coached.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, that was good. That's a good move for him. That's a really good move for him.
I mean, he's been at Arkansas State for a long time.
Done a nice job.
Done a good job, and Utah State. He's got a lot of ties to, obviously Matt Wells came from there. You mentioned Aranda spending a little bit of time there, but I mean, Utah State's had some good coaches go through there. And yeah, I mean, I think that's a bit of a step up and, just a change of scenery. And maybe that's what he's looking for as well. Just get to a different part of the country. I don't know, but it is a nice little step up for him. And yeah, he's the head coach now at Utah State.
When we come back, Mart, Crawford, and others are beginning the playoffs starting. Well, this is the semifinals. The 5As and 6As start tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday. So the 4As to the 6-men. 6-men are in the semifinals. They've already played those games. They're in the state championship game next Wednesday at AT&T Stadium. But 4A, 3A, 2A, and 1A, and there's only a handful of teams around Central Texas still alive. And 2 of those are Mart and Crawford in different sections of Class 2A. We'll come back and hear from them on their opponents tonight. We have so much to get to. Paul, count out the breaking stories. West Virginia, Oklahoma, gone.
1.
Kansas and Texas,
2.
gone. Baylor, 3 of 5 coaches positive. Texas Tech shuts down.
4.
Greg Sankey's going to rip into the NCAA at about 5 o'clock.
5.
What else am I missing?
Blake Anderson,
leaving Arkansas State for Utah
Midway
State.
boys basketball
Midway's,
coach.
yes, Matt Brown leaves Midway to head to what appears to be join his father's staff at Ranger out in West Texas. That's 6 or 7.
And I did want to go back to Matt and DC's call couple calls ago. He brought up the reason why Baylor won't come out and say, like, hey, we'll drop a bowl game as well. And he makes a very good point. I'm totally understanding of that when talking about, the difference in situations between Baylor and LSU. But I just thought he made a very good point as to why you would not do that if you were in Baylor's shoes. But it'd be awfully nice if he could, wouldn't it? Just go ahead and get that out of the way.
Yeah, I agree. When we come back, a couple of notes on high school football. Also, your calls continue. Text messages coming in. Thank you. As always, 254-339-1122, brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Jack and Armstrong are on the mothership, and this is SicEm365 Radio. Don's Humidor in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco. Don's Humidor, a great place for Christmas shopping. One, they have coffee beans, fresh coffee beans, the aroma, whatever fragrance you want to smell or taste with your buds, right? They have it. Also, if you want to get something as someone that smokes cigars, or someone in the family, usually would have been somebody older that might still smoke a pipe, they have all of that product available at Don's Humidor in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco. Pipes and tobacco, coffee, tea, etc., and also CBD products. If you're interested, for example, the one that they are selling, they can't keep it in their business, is called CBD Vita Dreams. It's a gummy that you can take before you go to sleep, even if it's an hour or two before you go to sleep. It allows you to fall asleep much more comfortably and faster. And it also allows you to fall asleep without tossing and turning if you have stress or something on your mind, or you've got, you're not going to bed fast enough, and it's costing you an hour or maybe 30 minutes or more of sleep. Vita Dreams can help you out. Don's Humidor. Tell Carol and Ashley Smokey sent you. You can get cigars, by the way, 1, 2, 3, or 4 at a time, or a box of them. They have the humidor, the pouches that allow you to keep the cigars moist, and cutters and lighters as well. Tell Carol and Ashley Smokey sent you. Don's Humidor, Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance, and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan, and at pioneersboys.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
With your Ram truck from Allen Samuels, you may not have to plow through snow and mud or pull heavy loads, but you could. During the Big Finish year-end event, you get a Ram deal like no other. Employee pricing for all, 0% for 84 and no payments for 90 days. Ram 1500 Lone Star for Christmas. No other truck comes close. And ask about Big Finish pricing on Ram Heavy Duty and Ram ProMaster for your business. Happy holidays from Allen Samuels.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on SicEm365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, located at the Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 in Waco. Proud supporters of all Baylor Athletics.
So the high school football playoffs are kind of, they're converging, merging, kind of like mixing together. 5As and 6As start tonight through the Saturday night games. Meanwhile, 4A, 3A, 2A are in the semifinal round. Class 1A, 6-man, they've already played their semifinal games. Those teams are sitting back waiting for the state championship weekend, which starts Wednesday of next week. The teams that played tonight in Texas, Hallettsville with Brooks, that running back that scored, 8 touchdowns a couple of weeks ago, playing tonight in Georgetown against unbeaten Llano. Also in 2A, Shiner and Timpson in a battle of unbeatens. That's tonight at Randall Reed Stadium in Porter. Crawford plays Post. Let's get the Crawford comment from Greg Jacobs. Crawford 13-1 coming off their destruction of Bosqueville 48-0. Post at 14-0. We've told you about these two teams defensively have been amazing. They're playing tonight in Brownwood at Gordon Wood Stadium. Greg Jacobs on being there and playing Post.
But you're almost like looking in a mirror with what you've done and what Post has done. And I told you this a minute ago. I look at their numbers, and I've paid attention to them, but I look at what they've done. They have beaten people up, and the defense has allowed 53 points in 12 games. Obviously, there's 2 forfeits as well. You guys have been a part of a couple of those as well. What do they do on defense that makes them so stingy?
Well, they've got great players for one thing. They're very experienced. They've got a number of seniors on that ball club, and they played in the state title game last year, and so they've got good experience. They're real sound in what they do. They're very aggressive. They're attacking defense. They've got good size and good speed, and they're just really sound at what they do, and they're playing with a lot of confidence on defense.
But you are too, and your guys know what you're facing or who you're facing, and they see that. But you've been able to dominate people for a long, long time as well. Is this one of those where you look at the defense, not the offensive numbers? Both of you have combined for like 1,100 points, but is this one of those where every possession is going to be like a grind?
I think so. I know our defense is looking forward to the challenge. We're pretty sound and pretty solid up front, too, and our defense has been playing well. So this may turn into a defensive battle, with the attitude that our kids have going into this game. I think, they're really excited about this opportunity and this challenge in front of them. So we'll see what happens.
That's Greg Jacobs. Crawford and Post tonight at Gordon Wood Stadium in Brownwood at 7 o'clock. Winner gets Timpson or Shiner. In 2A Division II, later tonight, 7 o'clock in Vernon, Wellington and Windthorst will play. The winner will get Mart or Falls City. Mart 13-0, trying on their way to possibly 4 consecutive state titles. They play tonight in Pflugerville, and Kevin Hoffman on Falls City in an offense that can be somewhat difficult to handle.
Yeah, Falls City, they're really good at what they do,
and Coach Kierhoff is in his second stint there at Fall City, and obviously he won a state championship with those guys back in 2011, I believe. So they know what to do and how to do it, and their flex bone offense and the things that they do, they're really good at attacking defenses. So we gotta be sound in what we do.
Have you seen anybody that runs anything similar or has that many formations?
No. Formation-wise, when we played like Anahuac, they would get in, a lot of different formations. They're more. Those guys were more of the old Newton stuff, but that's pretty close to as close to what we've seen in a while. I guess the last team that ran something similar to this was Refugio when they came here in 2018 when they were experimenting with that flex bone type of stuff. So really, it's been since then since we've seen anything like this.
All right, so that's Kevin Hoffman, Mart trying to get to a state championship game, which is where they live. That game is tonight as well down in Pflugerville. If they win, they'll play Wellington or Windthorst. Saturday at noon, Riker plays St. Paul at a Shiner for the TAPS Division IV state championship game in Midway. Back to Blake Anderson for a second. Possible candidates, according to Football Scoop, and this is a guy does a good job. Is that Ralph Russo? Or he's with the AP? Mm-hmm. Jeff Lebby, Ole Miss offensive coordinator. North Carolina's play caller, Phil Longo. It's weird. I get a random direct message from him on occasion about this team. Gus Malzahn.
You get a random
from Phil Longo?
Phil Longo. Yeah, it's weird. It's just, I tell you.
What?
About just, hey, how you doing? You see what we're doing. It's like almost a spam, but it's not. Hugh Freeze. Gus Malzahn. He's from Arkansas. Well, he was there, yeah. Brian Harsin. So that's just, there's a little list there. Rhett Lashley.
Well, those are guys who all coached there before.
All those guys are there.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's exactly what they've had in the past. They're trying to find a fit that's similar to that. Rhett Lashley from Miami, the offensive coordinator.
Yes, take him. Take him right now. Take him. That's the guy you hire. Take him.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Do it. Get him out of Miami. So that's not a place where he can flourish.
I don't know.
I mean, who's ever been successful there?
He's had a pretty good year this year.
So, yeah, I mean, his creativity is squashed in such a football wasteland.
Well, I mean, those are all interesting names. If they were to go any of those routes, I mean, I could see where all those are nice names. I don't know about fits and things like that, but yeah, I mean, that'll be interesting to see. And the coaching carousel will be another fascinating part of this, whatever this offseason is going to be, with all of the transferring and open movement allowed for players and all that. You throw the coaching changes on top of that, of which we didn't really probably feel like we were going to have too many, and it turns out we're going to have probably just about as many as normal when all is said and done.
You know who I would consider rolling the dice on if I were them? Was Joey McGuire.
No, I got a feeling, there's no doubt in my mind that Joey McGuire is going to be a hot item, if not already.
I'm going to tell you right now, and I don't even know if I sent you guys, I told you all that the other day. So the night that it was announced that Virginia Tech was going to be hiring Beamer as their new head coach, Shane Beamer from Oklahoma, basically, like, I saw within the span of half an hour, 4 different OU writers from 3 different websites all bring up Joey McGuire's name to replace Shane Beamer. And he had talked to Oklahoma previously.
Yep.
So there's already, some Lincoln Riley relationship established there. And so, yeah, I just letting everybody know that he was the name that 4 different OU media guys brought up within the exact same amount of time to replace Shane Beamer.
There was also a thread on the board, SicEm365, where somebody said, learned from one of those level 3 people, that Joey McGuire was actually having lunch with A.D. Kirby Hocutt. And it's interesting because I know for a fact that Joey McGuire at that moment and that throughout that same day had been on the Baylor campus all day long. So you got to be careful with those. I think the ones that you're talking about, I think there's Oklahoma, A&M, maybe even UT have all looked at Joey McGuire. What Matt Rule did hiring him was brilliant. Dave Aranda keeping him last year looked like it was very smart, and it was, because I think the ship would have definitely tipped over. Now you've been through a year. You get to feel each other out a little bit. What works, what doesn't. And if you're Joey McGuire, you got to go where you feel comfortable. And if it's Baylor for another year or so, That's fine. There's going to have to be some tough discussions to see what happens with him after this season ends, whether it's over or if it's over after Saturday night's game.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like when I think about Jeff Traylor at UTSA, who I saw on a UT Twitter post from a message board that like now people are like, let's go get Jeff Traylor. And which we love Coach Traylor, but that's a jump from Urban Meyer to Traylor. But I think that's a better idea than trying to just swing for the fences every time.
Jeff Traylor and Matt Rule talked doggedly many times, still keep in touch. When he was trying to put his staff together, he eventually, of course, it was Jeff Nixon, who he knew even better. But I'm telling you right now, Matt Rule and Jeff Traylor have a great connection. I'm so happy for Jeff. That has nothing to do with Carolina, but that's something that he was very much on the mind of Baylor as far as the staff of Matt Rule. He is very comfortable with where he is and what he's doing. He's done an incredible job his first year at UT San Antonio, and that's just the first year. He's had to deal with COVID as well. He will only make that program better as long as he stays there.
But if I'm comparing him to Joey McGuire, I would say if you're Arkansas State, UTSA, that's the same level program. I think Joey McGuire, I think he's ready. I think he's the kind of guy who, in spite of, it was just a few years ago. Well, the same thing with Gus Malzahn. Arkansas State hired Gus Malzahn in a similar situation. I think Joey McGuire is who they should look at.
I think Joey McGuire was probably ready in February when they had the coaching change, and was ready when he left Cedar Hill for Baylor. But you season yourself, you look for things, doors open, sometimes they close, and sometimes the doors are open and you still want to stay where you are. He did earlier this year. We'll see what happens when that season is over. Now, coming up next, Jennifer Smoak, Fantasy Football League expert. It's been a tough week for her. We'll discuss it with her, how she's handled the week, and this will be our last segment with her. It's been the last segment perhaps with Football Bob because the season coming to a close. And Sam Bradshaw, we might still have him on a little bit more to discuss some X's and O's after the season's over. So, coming up, Jennifer Smoak, Fantasy Football League expert, next on SicEm365 Radio. Pickup Outfitters, and a great place for you to get big things, but in a gift card. For somebody that owns a truck, a pickup truck, and they want to put something on it, bumpers, anything on the front or back of your truck. Also, bed covers, all models. Free installation at times available. It depends. Just ask them. But the bottom line is you can't, you're going to put a bed cover under the tree. Maybe you stick it off to the side. You bring it around the corner of the room when you're getting close to ending whatever Christmas gift you've opened, or a bumper. No. But how about a gift card from Pickup Outfitters? Because those are available, and it's just a gift card. And yes, it is for something very large. Weather guard, heavy-duty toolboxes, grill guards, ranch hand grill guards, front bumpers, rear bumpers, spray and bed liners. That's all available through a gift card for Christmas. Jay Arrett and Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive. More than that, wheels and tires, fiberglass truck caps, step bars, all of that. You can get it. And you can get it in a gift card as much as you can if you wanted to try to, for whatever reason, put it underneath the Christmas tree. Maybe you get it installed in somebody's pickup truck that night if they're not going to get in it, and you can do it that way, but it would be easier just to get the gift card, and you can. Jay Arrett, Pickup Outfitters, createacommotion.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
The holidays are here, and I have a simple question for you. Will you weigh as much more or less than you do right now when the holidays are over? Why not end the year in better shape than when you started and create momentum for 2021? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has numerous options for stocking stuffer gifts with gift cards for gym or tennis membership, fitness merchandise, tanning, massage, tennis lessons, and personal training. Perhaps a gift for a client, a family member, or a friend. You just need to walk through the front door to change your life. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. Spacious, clean workout room, free weights, Cybex cardio equipment, and no intimidation. A tremendous camaraderie and family atmosphere. So get the best and healthiest Christmas gift you can for someone or yourself. It's time to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Are you a SicEm365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at SicEm365.com.
All right, Jennifer Smoak will join us momentarily. We've mentioned high school football. We've mentioned Baylor, COVID offensive coaches. We've mentioned Texas and KU, West Virginia, Oklahoma, and much more throughout the day. We're now joined by Jennifer Smoak, Fantasy Football League owner.
Yeah, you're not going to say expert anymore?
She suffered a gut-wrenching end of the season, and it was a conspiracy from start to finish. A lot of people ganged up on her, but she is with us because she didn't want to come on. I convinced her we would be good about this. She had a great run, though. She made a lot of great pickups, and it just didn't work out. But you did not make the playoffs. And how difficult is that for you personally?
It hurts. I mean, I hate that I didn't make the playoffs. I feel like I had, I was making a run for it there towards the end. I had the second most points scored against me this year. And I have, I think.
Why only 4 teams make the playoffs in your league?
That's just the way we have it set up. I was actually discussing that about possibly doing 6 teams instead of 4, but then I just feel like since there's only 10 of us, is it as exciting throughout the year to get your wins if you know majority of the people are going to get in at the end of the year? I mean, I don't know. We did 4 for 10, but I also think it was because last year we only had 8 teams, and so we had 4. But I don't know. That's just how we have it set up.
Okay. I mean, usually what they'll do is in a 10-team league, the top 2 seeds will get a bye in the first round, and then you'll play in the next round.
So nice job on costing yourself a trip to the postseason.
Well, I mean, I can't go into the settings and switch it up to 16 real quick.
Why not? The Big Ten did.
Yeah. Big Ten.
There you go.
Just say that. No. We did not foresee COVID affecting the league as much as we did. And now with that, and boom, look at this. You and I guess it would be Ruarchy of the Year would be in the playoffs.
Yes, and I'm actually with her right now. So yeah, both of us would be making it in if we did that. But yeah, unfortunately, I have it set up with 4 teams in, so I guess I need to switch that for next year.
So where did you fail?
I honestly feel like it's not where I failed. I think it was my terrible bad luck and my matchups. Because if you look at my matchups throughout the year, especially this last 3 to 4, 5 weeks, my points were so high. But like we've discussed, the person I played still had one of their best games, you know? So it was like, it's not even necessarily that I feel like I failed. I feel like through the year, I made some good pickups on the waivers. I switched my team up, and I finally got my team right where I, felt confident with them. And then every time I'd play somebody, they would just have a killer week. And that it just comes down to fantasy and having bad luck, I guess.
There's another way to answer that question for her. She failed when she drafted Saquon Barkley. That's when the failure started. When she picked up Saquon Barkley.
No, because remember, yes, that. But remember, I would have ended up grabbing Zeke if not Saquon, and I don't really feel like he's been that great this year.
He's been alive.
Yeah, he's
played in games.
True. But remember, I got James Robinson, and I feel like he's been one of the best.
Oh, he has been. Consistent. He's not just a guy that goes up and down on his numbers. He is consistently pretty good. He is consistently pretty good.
There was some drama, though, earlier today because when I woke up this morning, I was looking at the playoff bracket, and I realized that Macy was in the top 4 and not Tara because obviously Persia made it in. And then Alex has just made a run for it. I mean, she has won several of the last games, and her team is on fire. And she made it in, and then Kara with a K ended up making it in. But Tara was supposed to be the 4th spot, and I realized Macy was on there. And so I had to call ESPN Fantasy and figure out what was going on, and it was a glitch in the system. I just wish that it would have been, maybe if it would have been me in the top 4, I might not have called. No, I'm kidding. But, so I did have to fix that this morning and break it to Macy that she wasn't really in, but she's taking it well.
Did Persia's husband have to tell her she made the playoffs, or did you do that?
Craig.
Oh, man, that's a good one. I know, right? She said something earlier this week, like, I wished everyone good luck, and I said, good luck to the top 4 that made it. And Persia was like, I'm gonna need good luck because she has lost 3 in a row. And I wanted to respond and be like, you mean Shane needs good luck? But yeah, but no, it is what it is. I do feel like my team deserves to be in it, but I do think that the 4 girls that are in it have some really good teams. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well, Shane's making some mistakes here on the bottom of the roster, but I'm not going to get into that because, we don't want her to win.
Right.
Who?
Her husband.
She's had to make some. That's the thing about her team is like she was on fire, but then she had Kittle, and when Kittle went down, I felt like her team wasn't on fire as it was, but they were getting some great waiver pickups, and everybody that they would put in would be the week that they would go off, So she got really lucky with the people that she was putting in as backups or when her other people were on bye. So, but I don't feel like now at this point, and this is no offense to her and Shane, but I do not feel like she has the best team right now. I really kind of feel like Alex's team is on fire. I mean, you see her lineup. She's doing awesome.
Yeah, she's kind of become a problem.
Yeah, she has. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, she's also the reason I got knocked out.
So do you think now that you'll be able to sit back on a weekend, on a Sunday, and there's games that are played Thursdays as well, Mondays, do you feel like now that you can peacefully sit down and watch the NFL without having some sort of conniption?
Yes and no. I mean, honestly, does anybody else feel like fantasy is not good for their mental health? I mean, like, I feel like I can finally breathe. I don't have to be stressed.
Hey, Jen, so I got to cut you off. I'm sorry. But Baylor just released an update from Mac Rhodes that says, at this time, and in the interest of our student athletes, coaches, and staff, we have temporarily closed our football facility and are taking all possible precautions. Our focus remains on playing the scheduled game with Oklahoma State at McLean Stadium on December the 12th. So sorry, Jen, but that's obviously some pretty big news that we've been following along, and that just came down. So
okay, good to know.
Oh, definitely.
So the game looks like it's still on, but they're closing down the facilities, and 3 of 5 offensive coaches have COVID. So what do we got, 48 hours?
Yeah.
48 hours, baby.
Yeah, one of those things is going to tip one way or the other.
Yeah.
So let's hope it tips towards game and not.
So, Jennifer, the tight end spot, how did you feel about how that went?
No, I hate to hear that. Hopefully they can still play that. But, no, to answer Dad's question, yes and no, because, yes, I am relieved that I don't have to worry about my team as much. But, no, because Daniel has 2 leagues, and he made it in the playoffs in both of those. So now I just am going to focus on him.
And he had to, right, or else he would not be happy.
Right. I mean, I'm just going to pretend, I'm just going to act like they're my teams, and I'm just going to be rooting for him for the playoffs.
Smart.
All right. Well, it's an unfortunate thing. We really enjoyed this segment. I did. And so we'll just have to learn from the mistakes.
Go get them next year.
Yes.
Yeah.
The moral of this story is this is fantasy, and this is what happens, and everyone has their heartbreaks, and it doesn't matter how good your team is. Sometimes you just have, the luck isn't on your side. So I'll just focus on Daniel's teams for now and wait till next year.
Good luck. Thank you, Jennifer.
Okay.
Love you.
Thanks,
That's
guys,
Jennifer Smoak,
Bye-bye.
Fantasy Football League owner, expert, with us on Thursdays at 3:45. So again, the statement, Craig, you just mentioned this. This has to do with the story that I had about 2:45. 3 of the 5 offensive coaches on staff tested positive for COVID. The game, at least for now, remains on schedule. It seems like it's probably slipping away against Oklahoma State on Saturday. Focusing now on playing the scheduled game, but they are shutting down, closing the football facility, and taking all possible precautions. What he's saying is kind of what I told you earlier. They have to do more testing. They have to talk to their doctors. But right now, what you do is clear.
Well, you clear it out. You clear and you clean.
Yeah.
Because clearly there's been guys that have been around some of those areas that are infected, right? So you've got to try and do your contact tracing. I'm sure that's what they're really busy with right now, is the contact tracing aspect of this, along with the additional testing that'll need to be done. And, obviously communication with Oklahoma State. So, yeah, it's going to be a wild 48 hours until game time. And, hopefully there is a game time still, because to have, cancellations, it's been part of the deal. But, if we got all the way to this point to where it's the last game of the year and we're all just like, hey, let's go out on a high note, and then that gets ripped away, that's going to be pretty brutal. That's going to be pretty brutal to not realize you watched your last game, So hopefully it works out and they find a way around this. But you've got to do what you've got to do.
Yep, so they will clear out the football facilities, and it just kind of all of a sudden just popped sometime a little bit after lunch today, and that's the story we've been talking about with you for the last hour. Coming up, Max Olson, he covers college football. His thoughts about what's going on with Baylor. The Big 12 now, 2 of the 4 games, there's a non-conference game, TCU and La Tech, but only 1 conference game left on the schedule this weekend. And right now it's Baylor and Oklahoma State. It could be on life support. His thoughts about what Greg Sankey might be saying today at 5 in the SEC and much more. Max Olson's. He'll join us from theathletic.com on SicEm365 Radio. Pioneer still in pipe. 1943. I don't know how many businesses you can say around this area, around many places that have been open since 1943, and they get better and better, and they're thriving now like never before, and they've always done well. It's simple. They got 2 goals: have great product and great customer service, take care of you, and make sure whatever you buy, it is very good. Metal, steel, iron. Metal buildings, building designs. They'll help you with the panel options, building components, trim options, color options, and also help you with a gallery of what to look for when it comes to looking at what metal building you want to design and build. Metal roofing, panel and color options, a metal roofing gallery where you have different options to look at what other people have done and go, man, I kind of like that. Pipe and steel, the structural standard. Structural steel, purlin, tubing, beams and weld plates, H-braces, fence posts, culverts and gates, sheet and expanded metal, all of the above. The Pioneer Way. The Pioneer Way, which is all about great product and great customer service. Reputation's been built on one customer at a time, referred as the boys at Pioneer or the Pioneer Boys. No matter what you call them, they have a stake in their business to treat you, the customer, with the best as possible customer service and, of course, the product. Since 1943, locations in Waco and Bryan open Saturdays from 8 until noon. PioneerBoys.com.
Learning to navigate life in the COVID-19 world has been a struggle, and where and how to get tested has been one of the biggest challenges. Impact Health Labs has your answer. If you need mass testing for your office, church, dormitory, or school, Impact Health Labs is who to call. They will come to you, conduct the testing at your location, and have the test back within 24 hours. Most major insurance accepted, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is low. So no more waiting by the phone for days to find out the results. Impact Health Labs was founded by 3 Army radiologists. They believe in accuracy, efficiency, and doing the job right. Call 254-744-6233 to set up your group screening today. Impact Health Labs, on-site, prompt, and accurate, taking COVID-19 head-on. Again, that number is 254-744-6233.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for holiday favorites for parties and the time with family. Various specials available in-store and online. A variety of steak gift boxes with 4 ribeyes for $70, 4 bacon wrap fillets for $55, or 4 New York strips for $50, and all come with steak butter. Fall snack box for watching a game or wrapping presents or hosting people at your house, including summer sausage, split horn, and jalapeno cheese, and salted crackers for only $35. 2 pieces of lobster tails with herb butter and 2 bacon wrap fillets for $60. Order online or call in advance to ensure availability, or drop by Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive. Waco Custom Marketplace has a full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin or specially ordered prime rib roast. Plus, what you want with pork, poultry, seafood, and more. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Max Olson of The Athletic, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
With
grateful to go out there every week and be able to play against, these teams and get the opportunity to showcase our talent. So I would say it's been fun, and the fun is definitely outweighing, the mental toll.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Busy hour. Mickey Spagnola will join us today at 4:30. We'll have a high school pick'em coming up in the show as well. We've discussed high school playoffs, the semifinal round around the area. And then also, of course, the story involving the Big 12 with 2 games canceled. Baylor and Oklahoma State on life support. Mac Rhodes, at this time, in the interest of our student athletes, coaches, and staff, we've temporarily closed our football facility and are taking all possible precautions. Our focus remains on playing the game with Oklahoma State on December the 12th. This is, in fact, what I said when I mentioned 3 of 5 coaches tested positive to lead off today's show. Max Olson joins us. There's the Greg Sankey press conference in an hour. That's going to be interesting. Max, there's a lot of, there's shrapnel everywhere when it comes to games and cancellations.
Yeah, and I think probably the telling thing here in all this is, there's a reason why these universities figured out, many, many months ago that they should wrap up their semesters at Thanksgiving, because they think they understood that things could get worse in December. And I feel like we're certainly going through that right now.
Max, obviously it's not good news, and it's unlikely that the genie goes back in the bottle. But for Baylor, but for teams like Texas or that, what do you think that this means now? Like, do they start looking at their offseason a little bit more now because they don't have, like, for Tom Herman, does he get more scrutiny now that he doesn't have a game to prepare for?
Yeah, that's a weird situation now where Texas is, dealing with a bunch of cases. I think. More than 20 between their players and coaches, and then close to 30 out with, due to contact tracing right now. And so I imagine if you're Texas, like, as much as there's all this scrutiny on what's next for their program in 21, it's just trying to get through this. And maybe that buys Tom Herman a little more time to, deal with this and say, hey, let us get through signing day next week and get through a bowl game and all that stuff. I think really the timetable on the whole Texas deal is now that Urban Meyer is not coming is a real mystery.
Yeah, it is. And Max, we have already seen another, this busy news cycle of coaching change today. Just curious your thoughts on Blake Anderson moving over to Utah State.
Yeah, a little bit surprising. I know probably people would hear that and not think that that's a vertical move, and sort of seemed like that's Blake Anderson maybe wanting a change of scenery, a guy that, has not, really, he's done a good job at Arkansas State, but wasn't a name that, kind of got all the way to the end with some of these coaching searches here over the last few years. So, maybe it's a chance to, shake things up a little bit and kind of start over for him and get away from Arkansas State, where, certainly the memories of his wife passing there and all that have to be really, tough from a day-to-day basis. So interesting move for him, a guy that, certainly you guys remember that name kind of got linked to Baylor in the past and stuff like that. Are you curious to see, can he find some success at Utah State there, get them back to where they were under Wells, and, be an attractive candidate in the future here?
It's the Greg Sankey press conference. And there's so many different ways we can go with this, including the Big Ten's decision with Ohio State. That doesn't surprise anybody. I tell you what, let's do that, and then, Paul, you can go into Greg Sankey or whoever you want. The Big Ten did what it had to do, but it obviously did what everyone said they probably are going to. They started late. They were arrogant, they were pompous, and they thought maybe they would shut down college football. But Ohio State is good. They're really good. Your thoughts about how they changed the rules, though, basically this week, knowing what needed to be done for Ohio State?
Yeah, I didn't really understand why everyone was freaking out so much on Ohio State's behalf. I mean, it's not like the Buckeyes are sixth in the playoff rankings, right? It's not like they're really in trouble. The committee continues to give them the benefit of the doubt and put them in the top 4. And, I figured that if the Michigan game was going to fall through, it was easier to drop that standard than to, ask 5 other teams in the Big Ten, hey, can you move around your schedule this week and play somebody different just to accommodate Ohio State? This was the easiest thing to do. And the fact that they beat Indiana head-to-head makes it, I suppose fair. But it's it's an interesting thing. It's probably good, honestly, for Ohio State to distract from the fact that, there probably should be a more substantial conversation going on about, is this few of games enough for a playoff team? And certainly I don't think we need to see more games from Ohio State to know that they're a top 4 team. It's that obviously in the past few years, when they play a full schedule, you lose that game to Purdue, you lose that game to Iowa, that game that kind of knocks you out of the playoffs. So it's the fact that they were able to kind of avoid the long slate and the chance to lose one of those has made it a lot easier for them. But I'm sure for Aggies and a lot of other folks, that's frustrating.
Yeah, Max, on that, it's on the playoff committee, though, to say that. And it's highly unlikely that they would go that way, though.
Sure. And I think that this is where their policy over the years, helps them a lot right now. And that's just that they can do whatever they want in terms of deciding who the 4 best teams are, or whatever passes their eye test and, checks enough boxes for them. That's what they're going to do. So Ohio State has had the benefit of the doubt all season long that this looks like a team that could play for a national championship. And, they haven't done anything really to disprove that so far. Obviously, they played a high-scoring game with Indiana that, raised some questions about their secondary and all that. But, other than that, they've been pretty dominant, and, they've just sort of been fast-tracked to the playoffs here. So it's going to be fascinating. I think we can all agree we don't really want to hear any excuses from Ohio State if they lose one of these games, because they've been given the easiest path possible.
You wanted to ask about Greg Sankey?
Yeah, he's having this press conference, as you know, at 5 o'clock. Paul kind of dug into it a little bit. Initially, when I saw it, I'm like, I wonder if it's going to be something about their college football weekend being shut down. But it apparently is about the NCAA. And is he about to take a jackhammer to them?
No, I think he's just coming out and announcing the TV deal that they've wrapped up here, where they're going to take those games that are on CBS every week, and they're going to move those over to ESPN here in a few years. And what that's going to mean for the SEC is a lot more money for each school, year to year. And so I think that just grows grows the gap even more, I think, in terms of these TV deals and the rights fees that these schools collect. So I think they're just sort of doing this press conference to come out and announce that they're about to make even more money.
Well, he just did, release the letter was released. I saw Pat Forty had it and all that he wrote to the NCAA. Is this maybe the first step of a conference commissioner coming out and stepping up to the NCAA and saying, we don't know what you do anymore? We don't know what you do.
I haven't seen that. What was it about?
So Greg Sankey wrote this letter in which he says that the way that they enforce infractions takes too long, that schools and fans and members they don't trust the NCAA, they don't trust them to do anything, that everything they're essentially, dear NCAA, everything you're doing is bad and nothing works and you need to fix it.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys think the NCAA takes too long?
I think the NCAA is worthless.
Just a little.
How's the experience been for Baylor so far in terms of the timetable?
Wait a minute. I forgot about that. It's been so long. It's been, 4 years or whatever?
Since 5.
Yeah, I guess
there
so.
are murder cases.
They've created a whole new body to handle these things. Yeah, I think certainly, all this stuff is starting to come to a head, I think, for the NCAA where, certainly it's an extremely inefficient process of punishing schools. And, the fact that you see cases like Ole Miss where, certainly they did not ultimately punish Ole Miss that much for all the things that were alleged under Freeze. I mean, I think that it's right now, it's probably easier than ever. I shouldn't say easier than ever. Obviously, historically, there's been a lot that's going on. But right now, the repercussions for cheating are not much. And it takes, as you guys have seen, taken a very long time to eventually have that verdict. So, yeah, I can see why a commissioner would be frustrated by the process that these schools are having to go through, and the way that these things get negotiated, and it's just it certainly is something that is, I think, probably long overdue in terms of reform.
Yeah, I don't know who I'd rather have investigate a crime that happened to my family, the NCAA or like a bunch of children, the kids from Kindergarten Cop. With Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, honestly.
They would grow up and learn more over time and hopefully eventually get it done. Right, yeah sure.
Hey, Max, how much do you think it would take for somebody to try and pull Matt Campbell out of Ames right now?
Great question. I think, it's going to be really interesting. Matt Campbell's a different cat, and I'm sure I've said this to you guys before, but, this idea of a Michigan or a Texas coming along and offering him a big old Brinks truck of money, I don't think that really matters to Matt Campbell. He's not really a guy that's ever really been motivated by money all that much. I'm sure like anybody else, he's really competitive and wants to win national championships. And, you do wonder a little bit, is it sort of like, what Matt Rule decided a year ago, where you reach this point and you say, hey, we got to a Big 12 title game. We did this, maybe my work here is done. I don't know that Matt Campbell really thinks that way necessarily. And so it's going to have to really kind of take a perfect scenario for him to do it. And I don't know that, maybe the jobs that he might naturally aspire to are going to open up. So I don't know. I wouldn't rule out that Matt Campbell would be back. And certainly I think these big time jobs that could open up, and you guys have seen it for years here. I mean, they'd be foolish not to take a very careful look at Matt Campbell, because I think he is a winner who builds real cultures in his program, and certainly can do more with less than almost any coach in the country.
How do you think? I would think that LSU had to meet for days to come up with the guts to release the decision for them to take themselves out of bowl competition this season at 3-5 and headed towards possibly a college football playoff.
A lot of deliberations, a lot of hard feelings on that. Yeah, I that was it's going to be a fascinating offseason at LSU. You've already had so much attrition on their team over the course of this season. Now you've got Eric Gilbert, their 5-star tight end, who or Dave Aranda has described in the past as a generational tight end on their team, who's decided to opt out and may go transfer to Georgia or go back home. They're going to have a lot of this. Their roster is in real disrepair right now, and it's quite a fall over the last 12 months. And Coach O has certainly got a lot to do in terms of fixing that staff and that roster right now.
Thank you, Max. Appreciate it as always. Craig, anything else? Paul? Okay. Thank you very much. Max Olson with us on. Oh, he cut. That's 3 times. Who's the other 2? John McClain's been one, maybe both.
John McClain, he does it
every
week.
It's a challenge.
Race.
It's a challenge. So that's Max Olson, theathletic.com. Mickey Spagnola will join us in a little bit. Latest to update you on, just in case as you're coming on with us, that Baylor has shut down the football facilities, and I'm sure they'll do a pretty heavy cleansing, plus start to do more testing again, and also check on what they can say with their doctors after the story we had early off the top of the show. 3 of 5 offensive coaches tested positive today for COVID. And now every school, has it been every school in the Big 12 has had their own issues? Out of the 10?
Iowa State?
I don't think Iowa State's really have. I think Iowa State might have got hit early, but it was never to the point of really being public, news or anything like that. I think they might have had some struggles, but not enough to where they've, to my knowledge, at least, missed a bunch of guys multiple times this year like most other programs.
Kansas State, of course, has battled it recently, and they just got worn out with Baylor eventually, and then Texas. West Virginia, the Oklahoma game this week is because of West Virginia. I say because. That sounds negative. It's not to be negative. They're the ones dealing with it. We know Oklahoma has. Texas Tech has shut down their football facilities.
That was just for Raider Rash, though. That was just for Raider Rash.
Texas held on for a long time without dealing with it, but they've kind of had to deal with it the last couple of weeks, including this week. Did TCU?
TCU had a game canceled,
And then Oklahoma State? They had it back in the summer, I know.
Yeah. And then they might have had some creep up, but I don't think it was anything that really forced cancellations or anything like that. I mean, it's so hard to keep track of just even Baylor, much less 9 other teams. But I think pretty much everybody, with the exception of West Virginia now. But like TCU and Oklahoma State maybe are the only 2 that haven't had major issues, I guess.
Yeah. So that's the news, and it's interesting because now I think the Big 12, if it was bingo, you could yell it in different directions. Bingo!
Well,
they've all had a problem.
I'll say it again. I'm going to be really disappointed if they don't play Saturday, and it's just my personal feelings on it because now it's like you've told me there's a game, so I'm expecting a game, and it's one thing when you know there's other games to come, but this is truly the last one. So if we get all the way to this point, and my nose is itching like crazy, sorry. If we get to this point and this last game gets called off abruptly, that's just going to
Yeah.
I mean, it would be the perfect ending, quite frankly, to 2020 season.
Yeah, it would.
Because that's how it started. But at the same time, like, it's just going to feel kind of empty if we don't get to see them play one more time.
Part of the SEC decision today are also what they're doing. They've now agreed to a new 10-year deal starting in 2024, leaving CBS for ABC and ESPN. That's a big deal.
Yep.
CBS, you could always that was that tone, that little stinger, right?
But this is the SEC,
huh?
Yeah.
Yes, you have it.
You know what that means is that now games like Baylor, Kansas State aren't going to be on ESPN2. You know, they're going to get
like the game
pushed
this week
farther
is
down the line.
Yeah, the ESPNU is where the Baylor, I think Oklahoma State was going to be, and of course there's a lot of ESPN Plus content. But yeah. Well,
to an extent, because, I mean, as much as the SEC has power, ESPN and the SEC have a lot of power here, but those other conferences still matter, and they're not going to be keen to, like, oh, yeah, sure, put us in the midnight slot on ESPN3 because you've got to run Vandy versus A&M or something.
Yeah,
but you're right.
The more you stack into one network,
right,
the more you're going to get pushed down the line.
But what does CBS run now?
No, they're going to. Well, you know what they'll do? They'll go get a conference. They'll get a conference.
The AAC.
But this is also, I mean, outside of network, as we move more and more into the streaming realm, this is ESPN's grab to be like, where are you going to go for college football? On Saturday, you're going to go to our app on your TV, and you're going to go to our app, and you're going to have to go and watch the games on that app.
I'm not watching some things, and it's just because of change in what I do, but I'm not even watching some that are on TV, and I'm not going to – the app is what we're on, and there's a lot of things that are on it, and there's a lot of value there, but I'm not going to go searching around too long. Well, and it's not being get off my lawn. I just think that there's certain points where – you want to be able to still be comfortable. But if it's a game I want to watch, I'll figure it out.
That's what they're trying to do because everything's going into the digital space. This is all part of a larger, they had the investor call today for Disney, which included Disney Plus and Hulu and all the things they're rolling out for there to get people onto those platforms.
ESPN and ABC have the rights to broadcast the league's 15 best football matchups, as well as 8 marquee basketball games and the championship game. And yes, there will be other content on ESPN Plus.
Boy, I'm going to watch less ESPN than ever, and I hardly watch any as it is, but especially now because that SEC Love Fest is going to, in a couple of years, be even more of an SEC. I mean, they might as well just be SEC ESPN because they're called that already, and they're especially going to be that now. Now that the flagship, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
We're going to get that shoved down our throats constantly.
Christmas bonus for Craig. This is from Matt in D.C. on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line for the Raider Rash joke. Matt in D.C. All right, how much time do I have?
I want to say on the ESPN app, I had to use it for a Baylor game earlier this year, and it was the most frustrating thing in the world. Like, it was blacked out, and I'm like, well, then why do I have the app? If I can't, like, I couldn't watch it anywhere. I had to call my cable company. They had to... And it was just really complicated to try and watch a single game that was supposed to be on the ESPN app. So I don't really like watching games on there. Plus, it's not even live. I will if I have to. But it's not my favorite thing to go to, and that kind of worries me that's what we're moving towards is actually an area I don't really like that much.
CBS will pick somebody up because they're good at college football. There's a lot of important broadcasters.
They're going to have to. Like, I mean, how do you replace that money?
And it might be the Big 12. It might be the Big 10. So here's how much time? We got about 3 minutes?
Well, we got to...
We were going to broadcast Riker football Saturday against St. Paul Catholic out of Shiner. We're not going to be able to do the game. And one of the reasons we're not going to be able to do the game is TAPS, in their policy guidelines, when it comes to state championship events, they don't allow local radio stations who have been covering a team like we have just 3 weeks with Riker, or if we had been doing that for 13 or 15 weeks, they don't allow, it's not they don't allow us, they don't allow any local radio stations to broadcast the teams they've covered in TAPS. Now, you guys know I've been around and around with this, and I know some of the guys on the board. George Teague's one, Steve Prudhomme, who used to be at TK Gorman athlete in Tyler, and also Jeff Smith, who's been an athletic director now up in Dallas. He was up as an athletic director at a couple of schools in Tyler. So when we told them that we were going to do the game, they said, no, you're not. So then they said we could do the game by carrying their feed. Then I was told today there is no feed. The feed is only available, and it's not allowed to be used by anybody. So here's the only thing I'm going to say. Listen, there are decisions made. But when an NFL team makes the Super Bowl, their flagship station still broadcasts the game. Now, they do take over some of the content for like we couldn't carry Brad Sham, Babe Laufenberg, Christy Scales if we had it here. And we've been through that before. Well, no, we never did because they haven't been to the Super Bowl since 95. The NCAA allows the flagship of the radio station. The Rangers.
Yeah, we had to do the
NHL, Major League, all of these major companies or leagues allow the flagship of whoever it is to do the championship game. The UIL allows any school, any team that has a radio station, they might still have their own network that they have at AT&T Stadium set up and put it up. But the TAPS, here's the only problem we have with that. It's one less thing for us to do, although we enjoyed the last 3 weeks. TAPS, you are a tree in the forest that falls and nobody hears you. And you making decisions to cut out media content and access and exposure is why you are the tree in the forest that falls and nobody knows you exist. That's all I'm going to say. Good luck to Riker against St. Paul Catholic out of Shiner coming up on Saturday afternoon. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Holiday sales event going on now at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. The most wonderful time of the year to save big on all remaining 2020 vehicles in stock, plus incoming 2021 GMC Sierras. And Sierra is a truck with it all. Power, first-class seating, unbeatable technology. It's the best truck on the road, and during Richard Carr's holiday savings event, qualified buyers can unwrap $8,000 off a 2021 GMC Sierra Tex Edition Crew Cab at Richard Carr. They also have the Cadillacs. Right now, you can save $3,000 and get 0% financing for 72 months on most Cadillacs in stock, including the XT4, XT5, and XT6. Let Richard Carr bring the Cadillac experience to you with test drives at your home or at your office. And if you're looking for top-of-the-line, mid-size SUV, well, how about getting $7,000 off the GMC Terrains or $7,500 off of Buick Envisions? You can test drive both and save big on both today at Richard Carr. The ultimate gift this Christmas is, once again, a Cadillac. Again, you save $3,000 and 0% financing for 72 on most in stock. At Richard Carr, they love their healthcare workers, military, and first responders. Right now, all these valuable community heroes will get GM supplier pricing on all cars in stock for every car or truck sold now. Richard Carr will donate a new bike to Toys for Tots Waco. So get yourself a great deal and also give a deserving kid a bike this Christmas. It's a holiday sales event going on now at Richard Carr. Get there, go to richardcarr.com, or have them bring the test drive to you. Say big, the holiday sales event at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Carr has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Listen, in the past couple of years, we've had a lot of people moving in from out of state to Waco thanks to Chipper and JoJo. And while we welcome these new citizens, they unfortunately brought some of their bad habits with them. Hi, Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, and you know what I'm talking about. Naked trucks. You'd think everyone moved here from McNewtville, but we shouldn't judge them, we should help them. For example, when you see a recent transplant truck from a less civilized state like California, instead of saying, your truck is disgusting, your bed is exposed, get a bed cover on that truck, buddy, that's a bit harder. Instead, try something like, in Texas, it's not polite to drive around with your bed exposed. Maybe you should check out the excellent selection of bed covers at Pickup Outfitters. And then if they refuse, you can say, well, I hear New Mexico's a nice state. Let's help our new neighbors and let them know that truck nudity is not okay. Let them know about Pickup Outfitters of Waco and send them to our website, createacommotion.com.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com. Brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas, with 5 locations to serve you.
All right, here we go. This 4:35. Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. Cowboys now 3-9. Lost to Baltimore on Tuesday. Mickey Spagnola joins us. Mickey, Paul just told me that he saw a note where Cheeto Awuzie has now gone into the COVID protocol. Were you surprised after Dez was asked to leave the field after he had said hi to some people and the man hugs and all that more people may not have been caught up in whatever he might have had, even though he's tested negative now for a couple of times?
He said he tested negative, but I saw where Baltimore put him on the reserve COVID-19 list.
Yeah, part of that, Mickey, and you're well versed in you speak fluent Dez, I know. Part of that might just be.
So, yeah, just because he tweets it doesn't mean it's so. Stephen Jones talked about it the next day after the game, and he said they did an intensive look at their contact tracing and said that they did not find anybody that had been in contact with him for an extended period of time that would suggest that they possibly would test positive for COVID-19. And those test results were supposed to come back yesterday. Now, I don't know, where Chidobe Awuzie might have caught the virus, but he is on you don't need to see it reported. It's on the NFL's transaction list today that he's been placed on reserve COVID-19. So that'll only complicate their problems defensively, since if he can't play, the other starter, Anthony Brown, still limited in practice with that rib injury, and if he can't play, they're in a heap of trouble at the cornerback spot. Although, if you're Cincinnati, why would you even throw the ball? You just try to run it, right?
Yeah. Mickey, Stephen Jones on that interview said it's not the players. He's confident in the players. Mike McCarthy, after the game, said it's not the scheme. So what is it on defense?
I think it should be a shared responsibility. Look, we're 12 games into the season. Whatever they're trying to install, we're not breaking the atom here. We're just trying to stop the run. And it can't be this historically bad. They're going to set a single-season record at this pace. Not only giving up rushing yards, but giving up points. Do they have the players in the right, situations to be able to stop the run? How they're trying to play it. At this point, it can't be all the players and they just can't figure out how to stop the run. The majority of the guys on the field were on the field last year, and minus Leighton Vander Esch. And I can't imagine Leighton Vander Esch being on the field has hurt them after he missed all that time last year before he had his neck surgery. So, one of the problems they had early was the fact that they stuck with Don Terry Poe 7 games too many. With him out there doing absolutely nothing, but they kept playing him. That wasn't, the players' fault that they didn't figure out the scheme. There's been a lot of strange things going on, and maybe the biggest mistake they've made is trying to revamp what they did defensively last year and change things when you didn't have time to change it. The offense hasn't been bad. They've been hit hard by injuries, but they kind of kept the continuity going on offense. But they certainly didn't keep the continuity going on defense.
Mickey, was there anything else that really stood out to you from that Baltimore game?
Yeah, I think they basically, because of their inability to stop the run, kind of forfeited a chance to possibly win the game. They were doing enough offensively. It wasn't a disaster. Had they made 2 of the 3 field goals that they missed, they would have had 23 points. How much did Washington score to go and upset the Steelers? They scored 23 points. They won because they held somebody to 17. Same thing with the Giants, right? The Giants win at Seattle because they held somebody to 12 points. That had to be the recipe for the Cowboys going to Baltimore. You had to play good defensively, and maybe your offense could do maybe just enough. They didn't do a terrible job of protecting in this game. And they ran the ball a little. I know, they ended up with a batted pass and he got intercepted. But Andy Dalton only got sacked 1 time. Now he got hit another 5 times. But they were moving the football. They just didn't score touchdowns. And it's really hard when you get in the red zone if you're not running the ball awfully well. And they had to resort from what? Where were they? At the 1-yard line? They had to resort to throw the ball from the 2 to score on 4th down. It's hard to find silver linings when you can't get each side of the ball to play at the same level.
Mickey, it is the Bengals this week, and this game kind of at least similar in that both teams are without their starting quarterback. Both teams have had a lot of injury issues. What's the best path here for the Cowboys to win this game?
Well, they better stop the run. Here's the deal, Paul. The Cowboys are 32nd in run defense, and Cincinnati's 30th in run offense. So maybe it'll be a stalemate in the running game. You just got to go up there and hold Cincinnati, a team that doesn't score a lot of points, to a reasonable amount. Can you hold them to 17 or less and give your offense a chance? Andy Dalton was decent, I thought, in that game. They just couldn't control driving the ball the length of the field. And I know what Baltimore did. They said, okay, we're up against a wounded team. We're going to make this bet that they're going to run out of downs before we run out of real estate. And they won the bet because the Cowboys ended up attempting 4 field goals and only made 1. I would imagine Cincinnati, if they're watching film, they're going to maybe do the same thing. It's like, no, you're not going to get a 50-yard touchdown pass to Michael Gallup. That's just not going to happen. You're going to have to drive 80 yards in a dozen plays if you're going to score a touchdown. And we're betting that you can't be that efficient all the way down the field. So efficiency on offense and golly, just defensively. And now it's going to be even tougher because chances are you're going to be without your 2 starting corners once again. And the guy that you brought in as a free agent, Darryl Worley, I think he's playing somewhere, Cleveland, Buffalo, something like that. So now those top 3 of your 4 corners that you fought going into the season aren't going to be playing. Jordan Lewis is in the slot. Now you got to find somebody to play on the outside. And you probably weren't happy with how Rashard Robinson played that 1 touchdown pass. And I'm guessing you're looking at your practice squad going, well, let me see, who can I call up here? Who's on the practice squad that I might want to play? So, yeah, it's like almost like a bad situation getting worse.
When was the last time that the team you've covered for as long as you have, no matter how bad they are still popular. They are still a ratings grab, and they are still a merchandise monster. When was the last time, if ever, that they opted out of a Cowboys game and replaced him with somebody else?
Well, I've read that since they started this flex schedule in 2006, the Cowboys have never been opted out of the game until this next week. So, yeah, 3-9 has trumped the Cowboys' national appeal. But does anybody want to make a bet Cleveland Giants outdraws Cowboys 49ers?
No, I bet it does. I won't take that bet.
I mean, it's Cowboys 49ers, and people may respond to that and disregard the fact that I guess I got to be careful before I say this. Neither team has a winning record. San Francisco still got a losing record, right? Am I right?
Yeah, aren't they?
They're 4-6, I think it is, or 5-7. 5-7.
5-7.
Yeah.
So that's probably not happening. These two teams have played very many times. But yeah, you're right. As bad as the Cowboys were in 2010, I don't know. I guess they didn't get opted out of game. Maybe didn't have any. But yeah, that's a sign that the networks are saying we just can't do this to our audience on a national TV. Because what would the storylines be for these two teams? You can't sit there and go, gosh, everybody's beat up. They both got injuries. They don't have their starting quarterback. If anybody listens to that pregame, it's like, well, what am I watching this for?
Yeah.
It's sort of like you guys, the predicament Fox got themselves into on Tuesday night, where, during the pregame show, it pointed out that Dez was not going to be able to play, that he had tested positive for COVID. But at the end of the pregame show, they had this nice package, an interview with Dez Bryant, and they played it. So it's like, I bet NBC said, no, we're not going to get in that situation where we got all this stuff nicely planned out, and then it's like, oh, what are you doing that for?
Yeah.
So here we are, 2020.
Thank you, Mickey. Appreciate your time. Good luck. Stay safe. Thanks for your time. Mickey Spagnola with us on Thursdays at 4:30 on SicEm365 Radio. Here's another story. As a day filled with many breaking news type stories, per Jeff Goodman, who was on with us, right before the Gonzaga game, Duke is not planning on playing any more non-conference basketball games. Obviously, that could change down the road, but that's the plan for now. Coach K and the Blue Devils will not play. Now, he's the one we discussed that quite a bit yesterday when he said, I'm not so sure we're doing this right. Armstrong, thanks for sharing that with us so we could see it. But here we are the very next day. Coach K and Duke say, we're not playing any more non-conference games. And there are probably, Baylor starts conference play Sunday. They just played one last night and hammered SFA. So I don't know how many more they had left. Maybe there's still a few. I don't know.
Baylor has, outside of that game with Auburn that's scheduled for late January, they have three more just kind of interspersed inside the conference games. It almost looks like the baseball schedule. When you have like the
interleague games.
The Tuesday game is a non-conference game, and then the Saturday game is or the weekend games are the conference teams. But that's kind of surprising. Although, and Coach K said that your point was, would he be saying this if his team was good this year and he hadn't lost these games? And that might be like he might fight harder if his team was better to play. But it's just another brick in the wall for that.
They just lost. Go ahead.
My whole thing with what he said yesterday was when a guy like Coach K talks, it does matter because of what he's done before. But my whole point yesterday was, if you've got Coach K, who just months ago was talking about we can't afford to lose March Madness again, and then you fast forward 7 months, and he's talking about how, I don't know about this. What did you do in that time period in between to actually set this up? And I know, given that what we're seeing in football still to this day, there's nothing that can change it exactly, but it's just I don't know, man. It's just it's all predictable. All this is highly predictable that you're going to have changes and cancellations and things, but that's That's kind of surprising that they would just wipe out the non-conference. But then again, I do think some of his comments have to do with them not being as good. I don't think that was the overwhelming reason for why he said it. But this would also prevent them from losing a third non-conference game.
They lost to Michigan State by 6 at Cameron Indoor, and they lost to Illinois by 15 at Cameron Indoor.
So they've already lost 2.
And they played a couple of teams I never heard of. They did beat Coppin State. They've been in the tournament before. They still would have Charleston Southern this week, so that's postponed. Their next non-conference game then would be the 19th, a week from Saturday, against Gardner-Webb. And after that, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, so that makes sense.
So it's not like they're shutting down 5 games. So they're losing Saturday, and perhaps I guess that would be their next 2 Saturday non-conference games.
By the way, if you're driving around Waco right now and you are wondering why there's so much smoke outside, apparently there's a controlled fire that I guess with the wind today. But like if you step outside right now, you'll just be like, is something on fire? Because it's all over this part of Waco, North Waco actually. But yeah, just letting a heads up to drivers out there. If you're like, why is there so much smoke? There's some controlled fire going on right now. Just want to serve the public.
Matt Stepp,
in case you were wondering,
just said he drove through Waco with Mike Roach on their way down to cover a football game. He drove through Waco on 35 without any issues with traffic. Man, what a day.
Yeah.
That reminded me of the time I drove to Tyler on 31 and went through Corsicana and never hit a red light. And I should have just kept driving and gone back towards Vegas.
You know what Matt Stepp's done, though? He talked during the no-hitter.
Yeah,
that's
probably
it.
Get a
Wait
crawl
for the
now.
Traffic jam.
Brad Boozer responded, right that's incredible. Corsicana lights are the worst, and they're trying to build a loop there like they did around Athens, which would be a miraculous thing if that can get done. All right, we have Pick'em coming up next, Is that right? Oh, boy. Is a week with some great games, of course, as they should be, semifinals. And then 5As and 6As join the fray. Jack and Armstrong run the mothership. Paul and Craig, I'm David Smoak. This is SicEm365 Radio.
The First National Bank of Central Texas, 5 locations right here to serve you. Waco, Woodward, Hewitt, China Spring, Martin, and Hillsboro. Here's some of their services. The First mobile app. You can do everything through the app. You can scan, checks in, deposit. First deposit. You can, with that, take a photo of your check, send it right into the app. Secure Lock Equip app, which means that if your card is stolen, lost, whatever, boom, locked, done, and you get a new card right away. You just drive up to the drive-thru window, tell them you need a new card, boom, you've got it. It's fast, no waiting for anything in the mail. Whether you need a loan, whatever they do, they're a local bank. They care about their local people. They're here to serve local Waco people, and I've been with them for more than a decade now. I've never had a bad experience at the First National Bank of Central Texas. 5 locations right here at home to serve you. Waco, Woodward, Hewitt, China Spring, Mart, and Hillsboro.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sic'em365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
MP Electric has developed a quality-oriented electrical contracting service in more than 20 years in the industry. Led by President Mark Perry, our electricians go through a 5-year apprenticeship program, are licensed by the state of Texas, and getting continuous education annually upon renewal. In great part, the success of MP Electric lies with its management and professional expertise of its employees. All of our employees share a dedication to quality and commitment to serving the needs of our customers. For new construction and remodels, parking lot, lighting and surge protection, landscape lights, security lights, troubleshooting and repairs. For industrial manufacturing, food and beverage, paper and publishing, heavy industry, cement and rock crushing plants, water distribution plants, and utilities. For 20 years, MP Electric has serviced industrial, commercial, and residential products. We do service right. MP Electric Inc. at 1890 Galaxy Road, Waco. MPElectricusa.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. This high school football segment is sponsored by Southwest Sports Medicine. We'll get you back in the game.
All right, here we go. Pick 'em. This is not good. It's really bad. You think worrying about games and COVID and all that. Paul, it's another year for me.
Another year. I mean, it's the same for me. I mean, as long as I'm happy with fourth place. I'm happy with where we are.
I'm happy with.
I'm happy. I'm content with fourth place. Grayson. He goes to games. When he has free time. I don't go to high school games unless we're doing them. So, it's fine.
All right, Craig has pulled to within 2. Grayson has pulled to within 1 of Craig. There are the standings. A lot of games left because the 5As and 6As converge with the next 2 weeks, and then we'll have 4 more weeks after that of the 20 games until there won't be 20. First game, Paul. Waxahachie, the only game I think out of 11 6A, the team that's not even close to being favored. All the other ones, Duncanville, Cedar Hill, and DeSoto, all favored Waxahachie and Temple.
Waxahachie's won 4 in a row, but that ends tomorrow. That Temple's going to win that game.
Okay, Craig?
I think Waxahachie could win that game, but I'm taking Temple.
I will too. Now, we have to go around the state to get to 20 games, and we do. We start with another game in San Antonio. It's San Antonio Reagan and Smithson Valley, who I played when I was a senior at the great Universal City Randolph, and we beat them 34-0, by the way. Craig?
I'll go Reagan.
I will go with Reagan.
I'll go Reagan.
Did my 34-0 in 1976 sway your decision?
Not at all.
Shadow Creek and Kyron Drones, quarterback against Clear Creek, and I'll take Kyron Jones and Shadow Creek.
I will take Kyron Drones and Shadow Creek.
Didn't I ever say that?
You say like Drones and Jones mixed together almost now at this point.
Well,
it's like I don't know. I can't even.
Drones.
There you go.
Okay. Craig?
I think Drones is everywhere. So
yeah, well they are.
Yeah, they are.
San Antonio Roosevelt, my older brother's alma mater. The Rough Riders against Converse Judson. Paul?
I'll take Judson, even though the Rough Riders is a great nickname named after our greatest president.
I'll take Judson.
I will too. The Lobos and Lufkin. This is almost like a bowl game where you play the same team, it seems like 6 out of every 10 years. They can't get away from each other. They were in the same district forever. So they move Longview back down to 5A, and they play earlier this year. I think they did. And Longview has owned this series in recent. Of course, they've owned a lot of people. Longview and Lufkin at Lobo Stadium. Craig.
Longview.
I'll take the Lobos.
Longview.
This is a little interesting. A&M Consolidated. Larry Fedora's brother, Lee, at Consolidated. They have been okay. And they play Pine Tree, having perhaps their best year. And I can't remember. I moved to Longview in 1984. And a couple of years before that, they had a kid named Rodney Jones. He was pretty good. I think they made the playoffs or they were close. But they have not had many teams at all. But I'm still taking, even though they might be better with their record, I'm taking A&M Consolidated. Paul.
I'll take Consol.
I'm taking A&M.
All right. Paul Catalina. It's Georgetown and Dripping Springs, and this is an absolute flip-the-coin game.
I'll take Dripping Springs.
Yeah, I tried to even find information on this game because I really don't.
It's absolutely a toss.
And there's first of all, there's no great coverage of. I mean, maybe they do. There's some site in Austin I don't know about, but I can't find hardly any information on this game to begin with. But I will go with Georgetown.
All right, I'm going to go with Georgetown as well. Let me tell you about Dripping Springs. We beat them my senior year, 36-7.
I knew that.
Yeah,
I knew that. So that's why I picked them.
That is it. Unless I'm thinking of somewhere else, that's a beautiful area.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Yeah. So how about that? 2 teams on our pick'em that I played against. We only won 5, and 2 of them we beat. Canyon and Argyle.
Me?
Yes.
No way. We're going Argyle.
I'll take the Fighting Sweaters.
Okay.
Argyle.
Let's see now. It's mine. This is. Oh my goodness. This is another one. LBJ out of Austin took out the red hot Corpus Christi Millers. Beat them. Lindale with Jordan Jenkins. I'm going with the banger in Jordan Jenkins, a slight favorite. Lindale's never been in this territory ever. I don't think LBJ has either. I'm taking the Eagles of Lindale. Paul?
Lindale.
I'm taking Lindale as well.
Hey, I know Grayson will take Lindale. He told me they're going to go all the way.
Did he really?
Yeah.
But then again, he's an Austin guy now, so maybe he takes LBJ.
LBJ
Who did he take?
Miller.
Do we know?
Yeah, he took Lindale. I spoke with Chris Cochran, the head coach at Lindale. He said this is the LBJ's got a little more speed, but he feels like they'll be able to hammer away.
Yeah, I think that might have been the hardest game to pick for me, was deciding between those two teams.
And I think that LBJ actually, Jerry Forrest and others, I think have him as a slight favorite. Graham, who's really good. Who'd they knock out? Springtown. And they take on Gilmer, the Buckeyes. They have a little defense this year they're playing. It's mine, and I'll take the Buckeyes of Gilmer. And I think Graham might be a slight favorite in this game. Paul?
I know what you're doing.
No.
I know what you're doing. You're trying to feed into my dislike of the whole city of Gilmer.
No, you hate one person.
I don't hate him.
You're annoyed by him.
He just bothers me at Cowboys.
Gilmer Buckeye Elmer, who goes to a way you don't have to deal with him this year.
Yeah. No, I wonder if he misses me.
Elmer.
Man, I bet he is so bummed not being in those post-game press conferences.
Oh, dear God. I'm going to pick, you know what? In spite of Elwyn, I'm going to pick Graham.
What do you mean in spite of him?
To spite him.
I thought to spite him.
To spite him. I'm sorry.
I think what's his name? Bob Shipley, wasn't he a Graham or was it the other one? Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Craig?
Gilmer.
Okay. Carthage. The 800-pound gorilla against
Carthage.
Carthage. We're all picking Carthage.
All right. We can save our time on that one. Me too. This is Art Briles and Mount Vernon in the semifinals after what I was pretty surprised. They beat Malakoff. Jim Ned, that's the home. Tuscola Jim Ned is the home of Colt McCoy's alma mater.
I think that's where he went. Bob McCoy went to Graham, right?
Who?
Bob McCoy. Or Bob, who's Colt McCoy's dad?
Yeah.
Bob?
Yeah. I don't know.
I think he coached at Graham after Jim Ned.
I don't know about all that. Did you know Colt McCoy's dad and Jordan Shipley's dad?
And their roommates.
Were roommates
and
at
Charlie
Texas
Brewer was never offered a scholarship by Texas.
Yeah.
And his.
I'll take Art Briles.
All right. Craig?
I mean, at this point, I feel like that guy just knows how to win at this stage, so I'm going to go with Mount
What did you say, by the way? about a high school coach on the sideline. And you're looking.
It's almost as if he's overqualified for his job.
Mount Vernon.
Just slightly.
Across the board. Hallettsville and Llano. Llano's actually unbeaten against Hallettsville with Brooks, the running back, that puts up the huge numbers. Craig.
Hallettsville.
Yeah.
I'll take Hallettsville.
All right. Canadian and Gunner. You guys want a note?
Okay, give me a note.
No, you already said it.
Okay, I'm saying Canadian.
Canadian and Gunner are going to meet for the 5th consecutive year in the semifinals. Gunner has won 3 out of 4.
Still taking Canadian.
Okay.
I'm taking Gunter.
I'm taking Canadian. Gunner has gotten him 3 out of 4, Paul.
Yeah, we got to go. Come on.
All right.
Rapid fire these last
I know
ones.
it's not. Let's do Lady Bears here.
Rapid fire.
Wascom and Franklin are repeat of the 2015 state championship. Wascom won it. I'll take Franklin.
Franklin.
Paul, Post and Crawford.
Crawford.
Craig.
I'm going Crawford.
I'm going to say Post. Shiner and Timpson. Craig.
Shiner.
I defied them last time. I will not again. Shiner.
Well, meet Shiner for me. Wellington and Windthorst. I'll take Wellington.
I'll take Wellington.
Take Windthorst.
Mart Falls City.
Mart.
Riker and St. Paul.
I'll take St. Paul.
I'll take St. Paul.
I need to catch up, and I'll do the homer pick. I'll take Riker.
Because you're Catholic.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, St. Paul? I
Even
don't know
though
what
it's
they
all
are.
a part of TAPS.
What's St. Paul?
It's a 4-letter word.
What are they?
Non-denominational, I think.
They might be
St.
Methodist.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know that. It's St. Paul Catholic. Of course they are.
Okay.
When we come back, the 5 o'clock hour, this is SicEm365 Radio.
If you are in the market for a new home or trying to sell the one you have, you need to call my friend Lance Donaldson and the team at eXp Realty. Lance is a fantastic dude. He's going to help you out in numerous ways to find that new home, whether it is selling the one you have before you make that move, whether it is figuring out what you really want in that home, those little details that will help you along the way. Lance is going to do that for you. Just give him a call, 254-214-3713, or check out his website, lancedonaldson.exprealty.com, or just Google Lance Donaldson eXp Realty. That's probably what you're going to do. Anyway, you can check out his listings, and again, just give him a call, 254-214-3713.
Christmas time is Jeep time at Allen Samuels. It's the big finish event, and the world's most awarded SUV has 0%, no payments for 90 days, and employee pricing for all on select models. Save thousands on the rugged Renegade and new 2020 Grand Cherokees. Even new 2021 Jeep Cherokees are included. 0%, no payments for 90 days. Employee pricing for all. Happy holidays from Allen Samuels.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717, or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for holiday favorites for parties and the time with family. Various specials available in-store and online. A variety of steak gift boxes with 4 ribeyes for $70, 4 bacon wrapped fillets for $55, or 4 New York strips for $50, and all come with steak butter. Fall snack box for watching a game or wrapping presents or hosting people at your house, including summer sausage, split horn, and jalapeno cheese and salted crackers for only $35. 2 pieces of lobster tails with herb butter and 2 bacon wrapped fillets for $60. Order online or call in advance to ensure availability, or drop by Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive. Waco Custom Marketplace has a full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin or specially ordered prime rib roast. Plus, what you want with pork, poultry, seafood, and more. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com.
Dalton throws down the sideline. He's got Cooper. Touchdown, Dallas.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, this 5 o'clock hour, David Hellman joins us normally on Tuesdays, the night the Cowboys lost to the Ravens, and he joins us on SicEm365 Radio. So, David, 3-9, obviously things are not good. They haven't been good for a long, long time. Have you ever seen a defense as bad as they are against the run?
Oh, against the run, definitely. No. No. I was musing on Tuesday night during the game that, I haven't covered this team forever, but, going on a decade at this point. And I think it's between either this one or the 2013 defense as far as the worst one I've ever seen. But in 2013, they couldn't stop the pass. And this isn't the best secondary I've ever seen, but compared to their run defense, it's night and day. I mean, yeah, it defies explanation how bad these guys are at stopping the run. I think it's the worst I have ever seen.
David, is there a disconnect between the front office and the coaching staff as to what is really ailing this team?
This is, I think it's speculation at this point. Obviously, these types of things don't tend to get out during the course of the season. You try to keep it in-house. I don't think there's a disconnect. I think anybody that's inside of the football operations of a team knows exactly what's going on with a football team, why they're bad, who's not playing well, who's looking out for himself, who's dealing with an injury that maybe fans and media don't know about, who the coaches hate or who hates the coaches. I don't think there's a disconnect. I think all of that is common knowledge, and maybe we'll get some juicy details when the season's over and we head into the off season. But I just, for whatever reason, I think obviously this team has had a lot of injuries, so there's a clear talent issue. And then the guys that are left don't seem to be either completely bought in or completely on the same page with what this coaching staff is asking them to do. But I don't think there's a mystery to it.
So, David, there's obviously just a lot that's gone wrong with this team. But, for the sake of some positivity, has there been, a player or two or maybe a story or two that you've seen or been following along with that you feel is a positive as they head toward these final few games?
Ironically, the offensive line has been such a source of dismay for this team. Obviously, from the very get, they've been hurt. But the bright side of that is it can only help you in the future. We didn't know anything about Terrence Steele, Brandon Knight, Connor McGovern, or Tyler Biotish going into this season. And they've all gotten a chance to play. And for the most part, they've all played pretty well. Terrence Steele has had his ups and downs, but he's an undrafted free agent starting as a rookie, so I'm not going to kill him for it. But so you think about 2021, you hope you get Tyron Smith back. Lyle Collins comes back from his injury. Maybe you have a chance to draft somebody. But you got to feel good you got to feel good about that depth for the future. You know, when all these young guys have gotten thrown into the fire, and for the most part, they've shown that they can handle it.
David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com with us on SicEm365 Radio. They have Cincinnati. How bad is it when Cincinnati's not even favored against this in this game?
You know, it's funny. You guys might know Ben Beatty. He's from
Yeah, we know Ben.
Yeah, my good buddy of mine who used to work for the Morning News. He covers the Bengals now, and I talked to him this morning. And you know, beat writers aren't fans of their teams, but you tend to you probably skew favorably toward the team that you cover normally, you know, because you know them so well. And so typically, like when you preview a game, you tend to skew toward thinking the team you cover is going to win. But me and Ben were just going back and forth like, dude, I don't think you understand how bad this team is. And he's like, bro, I'm telling you, the Bengals are worse than whatever's going on down there. So it's just been that kind of season for both teams. It'll be interesting to see who can be less bad, because I guess somebody's got to win.
I had a similar experience yesterday morning on a Bengals podcast that was, strangely enough, two puppets, and I'm not kidding about that, asking me about the Bengals, or the Cowboys. David, this I think I've asked you this before, and as you guys start doing the draft show, where do you think this team will like really put their defensive emphasis when it comes to the early picks?
I mean, I guess if you're looking for a positive or a silver lining, it's that things are bad enough that there shouldn't be a direction that you can't go. You know, I mean, look at this defense. Okay, so you feel pretty good that Trayvon Diggs is a starter caliber player. You know, all things considered, he's had a decent rookie season. DeMarcus Lawrence, you feel pretty good about, and I mean that's maybe it. I guess, you know, some of the young defensive tackles, Neville Gallimore, Tristan Hill, you know, have shown some promise, but like, there's not a whole lot else here where you're like, you know, Micah Parsons, the Penn State linebacker, is a name that gets talked about. Like, you're not going to pass on Micah Parsons because of what you've seen from Jalen Smith or Leighton Vander Esch. You're certainly not going to pass on a cornerback or a safety. And, you know, we don't know what the future holds for Aldon Smith, so you definitely could use some pass rushers. So it's a real situation where no matter what you know, as long as he plays defense, he can help this team. So I guess that's a positive.
All right, forget about talking about the Cowboys. I know that somebody on the border regions, someone on the border regions, and Ed Orgeron called you on the phone and said, listen, David, we're going to try to take the high road on this NCAA investigation with our football program, but are you okay with us opting out of a bowl game this year?
Oh my God! I mean, I made the joke on Twitter last night. Opt out of the last two regular season games. I don't want to see them play another game. And I'm the biggest LSU fan you will ever meet. I live to watch LSU play football. That's honestly, that's how bad it's been. It's, you know, I cannot help. Once a day, I flash back to the Clemson game because, you know, me and two of my closest college friends all went to the game together. We drank some beer. We cried on each other's shoulders. It was a fantastic night. And more than once we said, like, you know, whatever happens after this, it was all worthwhile because of this. And I still believe that, but man, the universe is really putting it to the test. I mean, the team is terrible. You know, the violations, you know, the paying, you know, the run of the mill cheating is bad, but then you've got some really, really nefarious off field stuff in terms of, you know, sexual assault allegations, and, you know, now guys are opting out. Like, literally all of the bad things that can happen to a football program have happened to LSU since they won that national title, and it's just a lot to process.
David, you could be on the other end of it. And in 2013, I thought, this is the beginning of a new era. I was right, but I was not correct about what kind of era. So
yeah, it's you know, another thing I joke about a lot with my LSU friends is, you know, you win a national title, you imagine that buys you a decent amount of leeway, but between how historically bad the football team is, and you know, that pales in comparison to the off-field stuff. Like, Ed Orgeron leeway is shockingly small for a guy that won a national title in this calendar year. So, I don't want to watch him play football anymore, but I'm very interested to see, which way his career goes. He was on top of the world in January, and all of a sudden, I don't know that he loses his job in the immediate future, but the fact that we're even talking about it is insane considering what he did literally a year ago.
Yeah, I would take that about every 7 to 10 years. Would you? A national title? I've asked this question before, and Paul and I were both very spoiled. Craig has been as well as an Oklahoma fan. Paul, Florida State, me, Nebraska. I wondered this. Would you rather have a team, and all of them have been through this as well, where they were really, really, really good for 25 years, but they didn't win a national title? Or would you rather have an up-and-down roller coaster, but on occasion, about every decade, you win a national title? Which would you rather have?
I mean, give me the championship every time. And I've been lucky enough to see LSU win 3 in my adult life. So I'm right there with you. I'm very spoiled. And I mean, this is the first, LSU was very bad in the 90s when I was a kid, but this is the first time in my adult life that they've looked this bad. So I'm not used to the idea of like not going to a bowl game, but the reason you become a sports fan is to see your team win a championship. So, I can put up with some crap if I get that in return. And and the conversation kind of changes because, like I said, like LSU is dealing with some truly nefarious stuff with, off-field issues and things like that. But just in terms of football, I can deal with some really bad football in exchange for a Joe Burrow season. I mean, every minute of last year is burned into my brain and always will be. So, yeah, I can deal with some bad football if I get that in return for sure.
All right, thank you. Anything else, Paul? Greg? All right.
No, I guess I'm not trying to pile on LSU here, but what have you seen, David? I mean, I've gotten to watch them play a little bit, but the differences between Dave Aranda, who obviously we have an eye on here in Waco, and Bo Pelini. I know the year's been odd, so it's not quite fair to judge all the way, but I know it's been bad enough in Baton Rouge for some folks that they're judging away on Bo Pelini already.
Oh, and I'm going to take off my journalist hat for a second, and I don't care about the pandemic. I don't care about, they lost a bunch of guys to the draft. Like every team in the country is dealing with that. It's the same thing as the Cowboys, to be honest, is regardless of the circumstances, the production is so pitiful that it merits like losing your job over. I mean, I haven't watched a minute of Baylor football this season, but And Dave Aranda's defenses at LSU were not always elite, but his guys were always in the right position. And I mean, the number of times that I have seen an opponent score a touchdown on LSU this season where he was the only player in the frame, as in there's not a defender within 15 yards of him. It's happened at least, and I'm not exaggerating, it's happened at least 7 or 8 times this season. I mean, for a team that recruits like LSU, I mean, that's just unacceptable. Bo Pelini had the audacity a week or two ago to say it's because they're transitioning to a 4-3 and Aranda recruits to a 3-4. It's not the front that's the problem. It's that your secondary doesn't cover anybody. So it's been a rough year. And college football fans are crazy by nature, but it is the worst defense in the history of LSU's program. Like that's a statistic. It's not an exaggeration. So it's real bad. And I mean, if Dave Aranda wanted to come back, I'd be very happy to have him, but I don't think that's in the cards.
Man, I tell you what, if you watch it, I know you won't, but the way Baylor's defense played against Oklahoma in Norman would make that's what you would want.
Make you sad, don't watch.
Yeah, it would, because they were absolutely as good as they could possibly be. I mean, they gave Oklahoma every damn thing they could have coming to them and still didn't have anything because their offense is so bad right now. But, David, thank you, sir. Go ahead.
I don't know if Baylor's going to reach the highs that they were on, 6 or 7 years ago under Dave Aranda, but they will have a well-coached defense, which I would love to have. So y'all enjoy that.
Thank you. As always, David Hellman, a little bit late this week with us because of that game Tuesday with Baltimore. Appreciate his time on SicEm365 Radio.
That's how bad the Cowboys are. We turn it into a college football segment.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's like, okay, let's just shift away. I still think The story of the week with the Cowboys is not the loss. It is not. It is absolutely that they were flexed out for the first time, Mickey said, since they started that with NBC, whenever it was in 2006.
I've watched a lot of really bad Cowboys teams go prime time for no other reason than they were the Cowboys. And so to see that, is kind of a test or sign.
Doesn't mean, as he mentioned, the 49ers-Cowboys game, the numbers might be pretty good for a noon start, whatever it is. But to flex them out, man. Golly.
Yeah, it's bad. All right, I have some housekeeping I need to ask you about. Do we flip Brian Howell and Sam here so we're not late with Sam?
How long is Colorado?
I mean, with the break, it's gonna push Sam back a little bit. So I would think we should get Sam now.
Let's do Sam. Sam is much more important. Is that okay? So we'll do Sam Bradshaw in the next segment. We'll do Sam Bradshaw in the next segment on a game we may not see.
Well, we better do some math to make sure that how long we need to keep Sam so that we don't.
We're going to backtrack.
Push.
Yeah. I'll never forget when I was at Stephen F. Austin, one of the parts of a test was to get in the studio when there was albums and back time a record.
That would be a pain.
You did it.
Grease pen.
Yeah, they gave you like 3 different songs to play, and you had about 10 and a half minutes to play it, and they made you intro the first of them, and then you had to back time a record. That was interesting. It's kind of like spinning records right now. Now, when we come back, we'll hear from Sam Bradshaw, S11, his thoughts about Oklahoma State, their scheme, what they do, offense, defense, and also Baylor. And then we'll look at Colorado with Paul Catalina.
I wanted to pass this along since we were talking about this earlier, but there's only 9 Power 5 schools this year who have not had a cancellation or a postponement, because we were throwing that around earlier. Only 9 in all of Power 5, and 3 of those 9 are Big 12 schools. Kansas State, although they're clearly dealing with COVID, they just haven't had to cancel. Texas Tech, who's now dealing with COVID, and Matt Wells missed a game for them, but they've still played all of theirs, and Iowa State. 3 of the 9 schools in the entire country who have not had a postponement or cancellation.
Wonder if that's why Iowa State, although they're very good. But
that helps. You're playing every single time you're supposed to play.
They're 8-1, yeah. So that hasn't hurt. Now, when we come back, Sam Bradshaw, and then we'll look at the Colorado Buffaloes, who have quietly started 4-0. This is SicEm365 Radio.
When it comes to hauling the family and hauling cargo, see Alan Samuels. Get the king of minivans, the award-winning Chrysler Pacifica, or America's lowest price third-row crossover, Dodge Journey. During the Big Finish event, get 0%, no payments for 90 days, and employee pricing for all on Pacifica. It's minivan first class. And get employee pricing for all on new 2020 Dodge Journeys. Happy holidays from your friend in the car business, Alan Samuels.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new Lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive at 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Sam Bradshaw of SicEm365.com.
All right, here we go. Sam Bradshaw, S11 on SicEm365.com. Sam Bradshaw with us on Thursdays at 5:30 to break down Baylor, an upcoming opponent, but we think might be played after the news about COVID and Baylor and shutting down the football facilities earlier today. But, Sam, let's get you in before they cancel it, right? And so I have a question for you. They had all these players come. Well, they had Hubbard and obviously Tylan Wallace come back, Sanders back, but they have not been all that explosive. Has it been because they've been in and out of the lineup, or is it something else offensively creating an offense that has not been as explosive as we thought?
Well, there's three things that I look at when I try and approach that. First and foremost, they made an offensive coordinator switch, and Sean Gleason was outstanding at Princeton, did some interesting things with them in the running game last year. So there's a little bit of a scheme change, but that probably shouldn't do it on its own. And yes, Sanders and Wallace have been out of the lineup, and I think Wallace is probably the bigger of the two in terms of how that impacts things, because the long run they had for a touchdown against West Virginia, that's because West Virginia wasn't loading the box because they were so scared of Tylan Wallace. And you had a similar play for another touchdown recently. But the issue that I keep coming back to with this group is you lost 2 or 3 linemen to graduation. Then one of your best linemen retires in the offseason. You lose another guy in the offseason who was a starter for you for a violation of team rules, which is rumored to be not following some of their protocols for the virus. And then beyond that, you've had 2 guys that would likely have been starters for you after that miss extended time. They're depleted on the offensive line, which means you're not protecting as well. There were stretches against Oklahoma and Kansas State where they just couldn't keep the defensive line off of them. One play was actually kind of humorous. Wyatt Hubert beat them around left tackle, got a strip sack on Spencer Sanders, and the guy that just got beat for the sack, the ball flutters right to him, and he has to fall on it. You know, it's largely a protection issue for them, and if you can't keep people off of you, it's going to be a little tougher to hit those deep plays in the passing game, and then the line itself provides issues in terms of how well can we get those creases in the run game.
So was this Oklahoma State team maybe even doomed from the start and their fans got a little out ahead of their skis because of those protection issues you just described?
Well, I think it's a similar kind of, you never adjusted your expectations, similar to what Baylor fans went through from 2016 to 2017. Because when you looked at who you expect to have in December, okay, well, we lost another guy. Okay, well, we lost another guy. Okay, well, we lost another guy. But without kind of taking a step back and looking at, wow, we lost all those guys, you end up
kind of in the headspace of, well, they can plug this guy in. Well, they can plug this guy in. And that works for one or two. But once you get past a certain point, your depth really gets stressed. So I think if they'd had all the guys they expected to have, Oklahoma State would probably be in the Big 12 title game right now. But, they don't, and they're not.
So, Sam, please help my uneducated eyes out here, because it sure appeared to me like the Baylor defense played one whale of a game last weekend. I know Oklahoma had some issues leading into the game as well, but regardless, I mean, that's yet another performance in like 3 or 4 in a row now where they played pretty well against Oklahoma offensively. But, to what extent, how well did they play last week in your opinion?
Well, the Oklahoma offense is easily the best offense in the conference, and it was beyond impressive what Baylor was able to do. And it's not necessarily that they did anything revolutionary from a schematic standpoint, but going back to one of the quotes I heard Ron Roberts mention in one of the podcast interviews that I had listened to him to try and get a sense for how he views things. He said defense is mainly about recognizing formations and the plays that come off of them. And they did that magnificently against Oklahoma. The little shallow route that they turned vertical on the other side that they've killed teams with, every time they tried it, you see Spencer Rattler sitting back there wondering, all right, that's covered up. Where do I go now? And then all of a sudden he gets sacked or he has to throw it away. They tried to do the quarterback draw paired with the shallow cross screen, and they try and throw it. Jalen Petrie sees it coming a mile away and took that poor kid out to where a lot of us didn't know if he was going to be able to get up.
Mm-hmm.
They just had their number from a game plan standpoint. They knew exactly what to expect. They were in position, and it was a magnificent performance.
So if we see them do that with who they are and what they're dealing with this year, what does that mean once he gets an offseason, if he can, to be able to get people even more right than they are now?
The defense that you've seen from Ron Roberts and Dave Aranda this year has been outstanding. One of the metrics that I look at when I look at yardage is I look at yards per drive. And I look at how did you do against Power 5 teams and how did they do against other teams, and kind of comparing those two numbers, you kind of get a sense. This defense, even with it missing some key linemen for significant stretches of the year, even with Bernard going down, on a percentage standpoint, it's on par with some of the best defenses we've seen from Baylor over the last decade, which is saying something. I mean, it's up there with 2013. It's not quite as good as 2019, but it's up there with 2014, 2015 as well. It's been absolutely amazing to watch them do that in spite of everything they've had to go through. Now, obviously, the offense has been a little further behind, but it's been beyond impressive on that side of the ball.
I had an email from someone based on a column I wrote, and I'm just going to ask you, there was a stat they put out that the offensive line actually does give Charlie a long time to pass block. I don't necessarily believe that to be true. Do they do anything well?
I think on an individual basis, you'll get stretches where guys will do things pretty well, but the offensive line has to be in cohesion. They have to be able to be on the same page. So a guy goes well for a stretch, but then he gets beat when somebody who was getting beat a couple plays before is doing it right. You have a little bit of that going on, but also those stats of, they gave up a pressure on this percentage of plays. Well, if you're calling a high percentage of screens, if you're doing a lot of rollouts, if you're doing a lot of maximum protections, that can skew statistics like that. Without knowing the source of the statistic, without knowing exactly what games they were looking at, what snaps they were looking at, and what the tactics were, it's kind of hard to really speak to it. But there's a lot of mitigating factors that can go into that. A lot of people want to say, oh, wow, this corner is really good, and he shut down this star receiver. Well, what those stats typically don't tell you is he also had significant help, and the poor nickel on the other side of the formation had to hold up in single coverage to allow that. They don't tell you the full context. So without knowing where it's coming from, it's tough to speak to.
Sam, can you play running back?
They're going to have to find somebody.
Yeah. I mean, what did you think of the little bit you saw of Jonah White?
Jonah White did a pretty good job. He was able to be a constant source of check down passes for Charlie Brewer, which was huge. felt like he ran hard. I don't feel like they did enough running, even with the backs that were out. You know, you have to give them something to respect. And you're talking about the tailbacks having like 11 carries.
Right.
Like 4 of which were right before the half or on the drive where you're just desperately trying to get enough room to punt because you're on your own goal line and you know you're not going to be able to protect well enough to throw.
Yep.
You know, you've got to do something more than that. Now, I still agree with the general idea of using short passes like runs, and I felt like they had some success doing that. But you've got to have some semblance of they have to respect the run so you can give your offensive line a little bit more help, and you can give them at least something that forces you into some favorable leverage or favorable formations to hit some of those quick concepts against.
All right, so I asked Dave Aranda earlier this week about, initially it was about Charlie Brewer. And then I asked him about Fedora and Brewer. And are they trying to fit a circle into a square? And he kind of brought up that, you know, obviously Charlie's better when there's chaos. He mentioned that. And a lot of people, this is something that got a lot of play. But he also mentioned that no matter what they try to install throughout the week, basically, no matter what they do, they cannot practice chaos. Although we don't know what the defense does to the offense during the week. What do you see there? What is he saying? That no matter what they practice on Saturday, they just all hell, let's go draw it in the sand?
Well, I think a lot of what they're referring to is the fact that Charlie is at his best when he can make a couple quick reads and be decisive with the ball. And then also he can be decisive when he wants to take off to run. If you give him too much to process, if you give him too much to have to sit there and read, it's not that he can't do it. It's that he's not at his best doing it. It gets him to, quote unquote, play slow as opposed to playing fast. And to a certain degree, to his benefit, to give him a couple quick reads and put him in a position where he can use his legs to help the team. Partly that's him, partly that's the protection, partly that's guys maybe not being able to get open against certain coverages deep. You know, it's a mix of things, but it clearly puts them in the best position because if that's what we've observed and that's what they're doing because that's what they're seeing.
Thank you, Sam. Great stuff. Hey, you don't
Sam,
mind. I know.
Who you picking if they do play on Saturday? Who are you taking in this final game here?
There's a lot of things that make me want to take Baylor. I mean, Oklahoma State's got a backup kicker in there, which limits that. Baylor's actually doing better in terms of red zone yardage or red zone point scoring. I'm slightly leaning towards Oklahoma State just because I think a lot of what they do tactically on defense is similar to Oklahoma. But I don't think they're as good as Oklahoma. And if you get a good game out of the Baylor offense, I think they can beat them.
Thank you very much, Sam. I know that there's no game, but if you don't mind, we'd like to pick your brain a little bit. We'll be in touch, okay, to maybe – especially if the season ends after this weekend. It will after this weekend, no matter what, if they play or not, just to kind of look ahead, huh? Is it okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, thank you, Sam Bradshaw, S11. He's a genius for us, X's and O's.
Well, and
appreciate his time. Got a couple of sports news here.
There's way more, X's and O's to read and pour through as well with what Sam writes and all the other stuff over on the website right now. So, yeah, definitely check out his articles and get football smarter or whatever. But, definitely appreciate his time.
It's insane the kind of content that at midweek to late week, there are so many things. I know we got Colorado. Do you have that music, Armstrong?
Well, we can't play it because it would be copyright. We get a copyright strike.
All right, ESPN said they are not going to purchase the CBS-themed college football music. They'll go their own direction, which has been a staple of college football Saturdays forever.
Can't wait for Pitbull and the SEC theme.
Yeah.
When we come back, Paul Catalina focuses on 4-0 Colorado. SicEm365 Radio.
Brotherwell Brewing has trivia tonight. Now, you're going to have to reserve a spot if you haven't already for trivia at 400 East Bridge Street, and you can pre-order meals from Po' Boy Place. Limited seating now due to the COVID restrictions, so go ahead and message them on Instagram if you would like to get in for trivia tonight. And look, if you can't get into trivia, curbside takeout, tap room open, and all those things. So you can go on in and get some fantastic craft beer at one of the best places you can get it right here. Their goal was to make craft beer in Waco for Wacoans to enjoy. And if you're not a craft beer fan, or if you're a person who says, I don't know if I like beer, they have a lot of people who walk in and say, I don't like beer, but I do like this. Brotherwell Brewing, online at brotherwell.com, or search them out on Instagram. Trivia tonight, if you have not made a reservation, go ahead and message them on Instagram, and you will get a reservation if they have them available due to the COVID restrictions. Great stuff at Brotherwell. Check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Learning to navigate life in the COVID-19 world has been a struggle, and where and how to get tested has been one of the biggest challenges. Impact Health Labs has your answer. If you need mass testing for your office, church, dormitory, or school, Impact Health Labs is who to call. They will come to you, conduct the testing at your location, and have the test back within 24 hours. Most major insurance accepted, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is low. So no more waiting by the phone for days to find out the results. Impact Health Labs was founded by 3 Army radiologists. They believe in accuracy, efficiency, and doing the job right. Call 254-744-6233 to set up your group screening today. Impact Health Labs, on-site, prompt, and accurate, taking COVID-19 head-on. Again, that number is 254-744-6233.
This is Paul Catalina's College Football Focus.
Neuer, hit right at the goal line. They're going to signal touchdown here.
Our college football focus, the 4-0 Colorado Buffaloes under Coach Carl Durrell, and Brian Howell joins us now. And Brian, this was not expected from this team. You know, the coaching change, and it happened so late and so strangely. But what has been the key for them to roll along through these first 4 games of this, obviously truncated season?
Yeah, certainly not expected. I mean, the over-under in Vegas for this short season was 1.5 wins, and they're sitting there at 4 right now. So, I think the biggest key is that Coach Durrell has come in and really kind of galvanized this team, and they've really kind of bonded through the adversity this year, and they've taken to his message, and they've kind of played with a chip on their shoulder and gone out and played well.
The other thing I've noticed is that they're committed to running the ball. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel on offense in this short season. That they run the ball, they run it right at you, and that's been really successful with this year.
Yeah, no question. I mean, they run the ball. I think they're third in the country in rushing attempts per game behind Air Force and Army, who we know run the ball almost exclusively. They've committed to the run, and they've got a running back right now, Jared Broussard, from the Dallas area that has been unbelievable. And a kid that came off 2 ACL injuries, but rushes for over 300 yards last week, and he's second in the country in yards per game right now. And they're riding that running game, and they're getting some production in the passing game, but it's really that running game that's driving it.
Yeah. And look, Carl Durrell, he was at UCLA and had varying levels of success, but ultimately got run out of there. But was he a good choice for this program, given his experience in the Pac-12 and his run as a head coach, especially given to how quickly they had to make a decision with Mel Tucker bolting for Michigan State?
To answer that question now, I'd say yes. When you asked that question in February when he was hired, a lot of people would have said no. He wasn't even CU's first choice, and they were, they were very clear about that. I mean, it was a week into their process that they said, "Hey, what about Carl Durrell?" And they called him, and he was available and wanted the job. So, he wasn't their first choice, but I think he's been a great choice for him because of his demeanor. Because of how he really brought this team together. I think that, honestly, how he's handled it, his maturity and his demeanor has been great for this team during a very unusual year. And, you're right. I mean, his knowledge of the Pac-12, his knowledge of CU. I mean, he was a coach here for a number of years. He was a coach with the Denver Broncos for a few years, so he knows this area. And all of that together, I think that it's added up to be a good choice.
Yeah, When you look at the scope of that job, since they've moved to the Pac-12, it's obviously gotten different. Are they starting to maybe adjust to the, after it's been almost a decade now, that their new surroundings and who they are recruiting wise?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they always recruited California, and that's always going to be a big part. And really, in the last few years, they've gone back into Texas to recruit there because that's what really led to their success years ago, and they've made that an emphasis, which is not a typical Pac-12 thing to do, but they've gone into Texas, and that's made a big difference as well. So I think they're adjusting, and they're looking around the conference, and the teams that have the most success year in and year out are the teams that are not what you think of with Pac-12 football. I mean, I think most of us think Pac-12 football is just air it out, the quarterbacks, things like that, right? But the teams that are most successful are like Utah, Stanford, Washington, that are based on defense and running the football, and that's what CU's trying to get to.
As you look forward into the future, like this year's such a hard thing to gauge on, though. Is there enough buzz around them now that Carl Durrell can build on this in recruiting? Oh yeah, I think so, and I think it's huge that signing day is a week from now, and they've got most of their class committed, but. You're doing this type of season. I mean, who knows what happens, in the Pac-12 title game, if they get there, or a bowl game, but that's after signing day. So the Buffs are putting themselves in great position to have a good signing day and really lay the foundation. And I mean, if you're Durrell and his staff, how easy is it to go into homes now and say, look what we did in a year that we were supposed to be awful, and we still managed to build this foundation. We're going places. So I think it sets up perfectly for them for the future. I'm always interested with programs that Colorado has a fantastic history, but they fell on, hard times. What was the biggest thing that threw them off the tracks? I think that recruiting scandal, which ended up not leading to anything as far as charges, things like that, back in the early or mid 2000s was a big deal. And then they backed that up with a couple of coaching hires that didn't work out. Dan Hawkins looked like a home run hire when they brought him in after 2005, but he didn't work out. And then John Embry, great guy, but just not ready for this job. And that really, those two hires really set them back. And I think they've been trying to recover from that now for 6, 7, 8 years. And it's been difficult, but I think they're climbing back a little bit. And, I think Durrell's the guy that can maybe keep that going in an upward trend. Brian Howell, the Boulder Daily Camera with us on our college football focus. All right, so for our Big 12 fans that listen to the show, the Pac-12 championship picture it's a little complex. So if Colorado beats Utah this weekend and UCLA beats USC, then they're in, correct?
Correct.
But
so
what's the other path that they can get in, provided they win?
Yeah. So obviously it's a very unique situation that, CU and USC could both be undefeated and CU not go to the title game because they didn't play each other because USC had to cancel the game because of COVID. And USC would get the tiebreaker because they have more divisional wins. So the other path for CU would be basically COVID related. I mean, they would need, if they beat Utah and USC versus UCLA gets canceled, then the Buffs could get in. Or if there's like half the slate in the Pac-12 this week gets canceled, then the Buffs could get in because there's a provision in the Pac-12 that if the average number of games falls below a certain level, they'll take the top two teams regardless of division. And I think if it's 3 games that get canceled this week for the Pac-12, if that happens, then it'll be the Buffs and Trojans next week in the title game. So there's some COVID situations there, but really the simplest one is beat Utah and have UCLA beat USC.
Well, it sounds like they at least thought it out more than the Big Ten did. So that's they did.
Well, yeah, I think so. But I think the disappointing thing for the Buffs fans is they're seeing the ACC change its rules to make sure its best teams got in. The Big Ten looks like it's going to change its rule to make sure its best team gets in. And the Pac-12 is not changing its rules to get its best teams in. So that's disappointing for the Buffs, and that it'll be the first time in FBS history that an undefeated, eligible team does not play in a Pac-12 title game.
Brian Howell, the Boulder Daily Camera, with us here on SicEm365 Radio with our college football focus.
All right, good stuff. College football focus. Colorado and USC both unbeaten at 4-0. Craig, there's a Pac-12 game that has been canceled.
Yep. Looks like Oregon and Washington is now off, and that's just come down in the last 2 or 3 minutes. Pac-12 released a statement and saying it was, made under the cancellation policy, blah, blah, blah. But apparently, I think it's Washington that I saw mentioned is apparently well below the 53 scholarship player threshold, so they don't really have much of a choice. But what's interesting about it is Paul was just talking about was the implications on the conference championship game, because they don't have a decided winner in the North division of the Pac-12. Washington is technically on top, but that's based entirely off of winning percentage. So they haven't announced yet. They've announced this game's canceled, but they haven't announced how they're going to fix, who gets into the championship game.
It actually could wind up being Colorado and USC.
Yeah.
If they both win this weekend and both play this weekend, then that could be the Pac-12 title game, is Colorado versus USC, even though they're both in the same division, because that's what they're going to want to do.
Well, people can make changes. That's the Big Ten. They did. Mavericks today said goodbye to J.J. Barea, one of the great an instigator, so to speak, or a part of the energy of that championship team. He had been there 11 years, a couple of different times. Today, Donnie Nelson, I'm a little bit sad. It's a sad day in Mavsville as we say goodbye. We've had an incredible, amazing ride with JJ. Called him the heart and soul of the Mavericks during his tenures in Dallas. JJ has got a lot of juice left in the tank. Anybody who walks through that practice facility door will tell you he's still got it. They gave him a contract, and they're now giving him time to hook up with somebody else so he can also still play because he still has time left.
Well, I mean, the contract was a gift, basically. That was Mark Cuban saying,
thank you.
Hey, here's a $2 million contract. We're going to cut you. You get to keep the money, and then you still get to go sign elsewhere. Yep. So that's a pretty cool gesture on Mark Cuban's part. And I'm not going to say I'll miss JJ on the Mavs. I will miss, his antics with Boban, and he was a fiery player and all that, but his best days are clearly behind him. I mean, he was a huge part of the heart of that team, but I feel like it's great to thank him for all his contributions, but, eventually you have to turn the page ultimately. So it makes sense. I mean, they're moving in a different direction, and he's getting older and, doesn't quite have what they need at this point in time. But it's very cool that they let him leave in that way. And I would be shocked if he's not like a member of the Mavs staff, and so even if it's off the court, like in a behind the scenes role at some point in time when his playing career is over.
Yeah, but this is a new team now.
Yeah,
they need to just move on.
He was on the championship team. Yeah. Like that was so long ago now.
High school football. I mentioned the teams playing tonight. Crawford, Mart, they're a part of it. Franklin. The 6As and 5As are about to start. And tonight in Duncanville, Harker Heights will play Duncanville. Shoemaker hosts DeSoto. And neither one of those teams in 12-6A, of course, are favored against the behemoths of 11-6A. Cedar Hill will play Bryan tomorrow night at Cedar Hill, and then Temple hosts Waxahachie. That's tomorrow night in Temple.
So most likely 1-3.
Yeah, I would think
maybe 1-3.
If they go 1-3, they ought to be happy. I'm serious. Because if they go more than 1-3, it'd be shocking.
I don't think Temple over Waxahachie is such a sure thing necessarily either. I mean, you just never know. I mean, probably pretty safe bet, but yeah, we'll see.
Also, College Station plays Sherman out of the area, the wider part of Central Texas. That's not until Saturday. 9-1 College Station. And then A&M Consolidated, as we mentioned, part of our Pick 'em Play Pine Tree in Longview at Pirate Stadium tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. So we'll see some evidence tonight, find out who stays alive. So 3 teams out of Central Texas playing, 2 teams playing out of Central Texas, Crawford and Mart tonight. And that's it, really. I mean, you think about, if you look at who's left, Franklin plays tomorrow night in Tyler against Wascom, and then Riker plays on Saturday at noon. Anything else, guys? Armstrong, good stuff. Jack, great stuff. Appreciate you as well. No, both of you, great stuff. I said good and great. That's not fair because both of you were great. Appreciate your time.
You told me during the break Armstrong was good, but Jack was great. So you might have to...
We got to sometimes push Armstrong. He's getting a little bit secure.
He's got his army of people that we have to worry about.
Oh, my God. Here comes
like Bigfoot. I mean, that's
and then Craig, whatever that guy is, Turnup or whatever his name is.
Hank. Shout out
Drew.
to Hank, my buddy.
If he's listening, that means we like him. Scott Drew, thank you. Also, Davion Mitchell, Jennifer Smoak, Max Olson, Mickey Spagnola, David Hellman, Brian Howell, and Sam Bradshaw. I don't know who we have lined up for tomorrow. I really don't. Haven't thought much about tomorrow, but
who knows if we have a game tomorrow?
Yeah, that might be part of the story as well. For Jack again, and also for Armstrong, thank them as much. Also, thanks to you, all of you that watch and listen to everything we do, all of it from the content online to what we do on both the studio and the stream. Thanks to Ideal MRI, our title sponsor. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, our stream based on the app as well. For Paul and Craig, Jack and Armstrong, thank you very much for listening whenever you do, however long it might be. David Smoak, good night, SicEm365 Radio.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online, pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 on Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere
anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's bail bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.